Chapter 180. Suddenly, Han Fei's heart began to race. He had another bold idea. The spiritual beasts that had been awakened and summoned were invisible in the Soul Ocean. The primitive spiritual beasts in the Soul Ocean couldn't be seen at all? In order to confirm this idea, Han Fei ran to the swordfish and swam in front of it. It was okay. He plucked up his courage and swam in front of the crayfish. It was okay. In the end, he chased a golden arowana and swam in front of its eyeball for a long time, but it still didn't react. However, maybe Han Fei swam too fast. His tail slapped the golden arawana's eyeball, and he was knocked away by the golden arowana. Ha ha ha. I'm rich, I'm rich. Since other primitive spiritual beasts can't see me, can't I eat them? Han Fei immediately thought of something and returned to Little Black. This time, all the fish that passed by Han Fei went up and gnawed on them. At first, the primitive spiritual beasts that were gnawed just fled in a hurry. In the end, the sudden death of many spiritual beasts finally attracted the attention of other primitive spiritual beasts in this water area. Immediately, the primitive spiritual beasts in this area began to panic. But Han Fei didn't feel anything. He felt as if his brain had been washed by cold water just now, and then he felt that his strength had increased greatly, mainly because of the increase in his bite force. Upgraded. Han Fei was so excited that he couldn't control himself. Originally, he had to feed Little Black every day and slowly let it evolve. As a result, although its advancement speed wasn't very slow, it only leveled up once in a few months. But when he came to this Soul Ocean and casually ate a few primitive spiritual beasts, he leveled up once. What if he continued to eat? When Han Fei ate nearly 30 primitive spiritual beasts again, he leveled up again. At this time, this area was in an uproar. All the primitive spiritual beasts were fleeing in panic. But Han Fei didn't care. Where can you run to? You're in the light, I'm in the dark. Do you think I'm afraid of you? This time, Han Fei's target changed. He began to choose those exotic and even rare spiritual beasts. Pearl fish, spirit-chasing shrimp, sapphire crab, lightning squid. Although it took him a long time to catch these rare spiritual beasts, he leveled up again after eating only 12 of them. Little Black and Little White directly broke through to level 20. After that, it was still the same. He didn't know how long it had been, but when Little Black and Little White reached level 22, there was not a single fish left. They had all run away. Han Fei was a bit puzzled. There were too few primitive spiritual beasts in his Soul Ocean. Why is it so weak? Should we move to another place? After swimming for a long time, Han Fei suddenly saw a flash in front of his eyes, and a squid full of tentacles appeared. Name Iron Hook Squid Sun Yang's spiritual beast introduction. The tentacles are like hooks, and the hooks are poisonous. Once you get close, it will be very difficult to escape. Level 27 quality. Rare contains soul power 362 points. Someone else's spiritual beast? Han Fei was hesitating. Should I eat other people's spiritual beasts? Can other people's spiritual beasts be eaten? I can see it. Could it be that the summoned spiritual beasts could see each other in the Soul Sea? Han Fei thought for a while. Should I take a bite? The iron hook squid also saw Whitey and suddenly hooked over with its hook. Han Fei was shocked. What? I'm still considering whether to eat you or not. How dare you take the initiative to attack me? Whitey's speed was extremely fast, and it quickly dodged. But Han Fei was angry. I didn't intend to eat you, but you attacked me first. But you were the one who attacked first, so you can't blame me. Immediately, Han Fei rushed up and bit off a squid's tentacle. Just when he was about to continue, the spiritual beast swooshed away at an extremely fast speed. Han Fei chased it all the way, but unfortunately, because it could see Whitey, it ran extremely fast. After chasing for a while, Han Fei gave up. This kind of spiritual beast seemed to have some intelligence. Otherwise, it wouldn't have started to escape as soon as it suffered a loss. After swimming for a while, when a large number of primitive spiritual beasts appeared around Han Fei, he began to devour them crazily again. Just when Han Fei felt that he might upgrade at any time, suddenly Han Fei felt dizzy. When he woke up again, he found that he was sleeping on the deck. Out of the Soul Sea? Why? At this moment, Han Fei suddenly thought of something. He jumped up from the deck, and the two knives in his hands instantly shot out. Someone's here. As soon as Han Fei dodged, an arrow was nailed to the place where he had just slept. Who? Which bastard dares to ruin my plan? Dozens of meters away, a fishing boat was approaching. On the bow of the boat, a man held a longbow and shot 3 arrows again, trying to kill Han Fei. Clang, clang, clang. The 3 arrows were easily blocked by Han Fei. Han Fei twisted his wrist slightly. An advanced great fishing master? The man's face seemed to be full of surprise. He failed to kill him in the state of sneak attack? Run, needless to say, those who could come to the level 2 fishery were all at least great fishing masters. This man's sneak attack failed, so the first thing he thought of was to run. Want to run now? Do you think I don't exist? Han Fei walked on the wind, waved the fishing rod in his hand, and entangled the man in the blink of an eye. Immediately, the 2 knives in his hands broke through the air and drew a strange arc in the air. Clang, the man raised his bow to block, but the next moment, the longbow that had accompanied him for many years was directly cut off. Magic weapon? The man exclaimed, pulled out a dagger, and hurriedly cut the fishing line that entangled him. However, the fishing line quickly loosened and was taken back by Han Fei. The 2 knives fell back into his hands and Han Fei had already stepped onto the man's boat. Little brother, let's talk. Spare my life and I will repay you. Han Fei grinned. How? Just at the moment when Han Fei smiled, the man attacked again, and Han Fei saw a squid instantly fuse. Han Fei was surprised. Iron hook squid? Han Fei was sure that this was definitely an iron hook squid, which he had just seen. Smack in the air, a big seal phantom slapped down, and the water-stirring seal appeared extremely fast, catching people off guard. At this moment, it smashed the cabin and directly smashed the man into the water. Han Fei put away the water-stirring seal. It seemed that he had used too much force. He hadn't seen what it looked like underwater in the level 2 fishery. Was this man smashed to death? Han Fei stood on the boat and watched for a while. After a few minutes, a head suddenly popped out of the sea, his face covered with blood. Help, help me, Han Fei didn't move. Standing on the bow, he asked thoughtfully, Is your name Sun Yang? Yes, help, help. The next moment, Sun Yang seemed to be dragged into the sea by something and could never come up again. I hate untrustworthy people like you the most. Han Fei was not surprised. Back then, after Su Yebai was hit by the water-stirring seal, he passed out. It was not easy for Sun Yang to persist underwater for so long. However, his name was Sun Yang? That was amazing. It was no coincidence that he saw his iron hook squid in the Soul Ocean, and then met its owner as soon as he woke up. Han Fei felt that he had discovered a big secret, an extremely terrifying secret. When a person was close to him, then the distance between their spiritual beasts in the Soul Ocean was also very close. The key of the secret was not this, but why could he enter the world where his spiritual beasts were? Since he could enter, could others enter as well? If everyone could enter, then wouldn't the Soul Ocean also have no guarantee of safety? Regarding this question, he decided to test it when the 5 of them reunited 3 days later. Then, when Han Fei tried to enter the Soul Ocean again, unfortunately, he couldn't. No matter if he was lying, sleeping, or in a daze, he couldn't enter. Little Black and Little White, like 2 fools, didn't understand what Han Fei meant at all. They might not even know that they had just been possessed. But Han Fei found that Little Black and Little White had now reached level 22. How long had it been? Looking at the sky, it was probably less than half an hour. And a few months ago they had just leveled up by 1 level. Han Fei was shocked. In half an hour, they suddenly went from level 17 to level 22. Just how shocking was this leveling speed? Chapter 181. After Han Fei struggled for a long time, the day had turned into night. Today the sea was stormy and the wind was howling. The three big moons were half obscured by clouds, and Han Fei's fishing boat was still drifting on the sea. During the day, he didn't feel much difference between the level 1 fishery and the level 2 fishery. Although occasionally some stupid big fish would break out of the water and attack Han Fei for no reason, they were no match for him at all. However, they were no match for him at all, and there were no big shrimps like the tentacle lobster climbing onto the fishing boat. But at night, everything was different. The wind and waves were beating, and from time to time, some squid and cuttlefish would stick to the fishing boat. Unlike the squid and cuttlefish in the ordinary fishery, these squids were very fierce. Smack, a few tentacles several meters long slapped on the deck, and Han Fei's double knives didn't stop. Since nightfall, he had been slashing, and there were hundreds of tentacles in Forge the Universe at this moment. Meow, are you done yet? Can't I have a peaceful night? Little Black, bite them, bite these dogs to death. While cursing, Han Fei chopped the annoying tentacles. He raised his knife and the tentacles fell off. In fact, each tentacle was actually extremely powerful, and each claw had the force of 1,000 kilograms. If Han Fei didn't have the double knives in his hands, although he could still fight, it would definitely not be as easy as it was now. About 2 hours later, Han Fei was speechless. The entire boat was almost covered with squids. The only thing that Han Fei was glad about was that squids were not octopuses, otherwise they would be more terrifying than squids. When there were so many squid tentacles that Han Fei didn't want to stuff into Forge the Universe, the whole boat was full of them. Little Black couldn't even eat all of them, so Han Fei could only kick them all into the sea. Suddenly, Han Fei saw Little White anxiously circling around him. His expression changed slightly. Something's here? The next moment, a pale golden phantom swept over in the blink of an eye, and a tentacle swept over. With a sweep, countless tentacles on the hull were gone. Even a squid that had almost climbed onto the boat in front of Han Fei was pulled away. The huge force pulled the fishing boat forward quickly. Han Fei's face changed slightly. Is it the golden squid? Han Fei was shocked. I've been looking for you for a long time, but I couldn't find you. Now you've come to me? Swish, ignoring the tentacles, while the golden squid was hunting, Han Fei plunged his fishing hook into the water and used the 1,000 twining technique to tie up the squid that was dragged into the water. The moment the fish hook entered the water, the golden cuttlefish did not notice it at first because of the wind and waves and the water vane technique. As soon as the 1,000 coiling silk was activated, it immediately let go of the cuttlefish and tried to escape. Hey! Do you think I'll let you escape? The 1,000 twining threads instantly tightened, directly binding the golden squid's 3 tentacles in one go. Yeah, there seemed to be a strange sound underwater. Han Fei was surprised. Could squids make sounds? What kind of squid are you? Buzz! In the blink of an eye, Han Fei was pulled forward and the fishing rod almost fell out of his hand. When Han Fei realized what had happened, he found that the fishing line had been pulled 100 meters away. Damn, so fast! It seemed that his feet were too weak and there were too many tentacles around him. Han Fei gritted his teeth and the fishing boat disappeared instantly. And his whole body was directly thrown dozens of meters away. Plop! Han Fei fell into the sea. Just at the moment when he entered the sea, countless claws stretched out around him. Kill! Little Black, a cold light flashed, and 5 or 6 tentacles were cut off. Immediately, a water wall appeared in the water, and the water control technique directly blocked dozens of tentacles. Then Han Fei was dragged into the deep sea. Along the way, Han Fei used the wandering dragon art. He grabbed the fishing rod with one hand and made all kinds of strange movements with his body to block various tentacles. Striped fish, bony spurfish, big-headed prawns, and schools of fish. There were countless marine creatures here, much more than in ordinary fisheries. Although there were many marine creatures in ordinary fisheries, they were definitely not so dense. However, in this damn place, the wind and waves were roaring, but the underwater scene was so chaotic. However, Han Fei was certainly not afraid. He couldn't let go of what he had already caught. He used the hook kiss technique to make the hook deeply sink into the body of the golden squid. Han Fei reeled in the line abruptly, only to be pulled towards the golden squid. Swish, Han Fei gritted his teeth. It's too fast, this thing is running too fast. The nearby schools of fish can't catch up with it. Some squid have just stretched out their tentacles and Han Fei has already appeared 20 meters away. What the hell is this squid? How can it run so fast? After a while, Han Fei didn't know where he was. He only saw a large group of corals under the sea, and the squid was dragging him against the corals. Bam, bam, bam. The sand on the seabed flew and the corals shattered. Han Fei didn't know how many corals he had smashed. At this moment, full of anger, he pulled the fishing rod even harder. After a while, he already saw the golden squid more than 10 meters away. It was nearly 3 meters long, and because it ran so fast, the water marks it left along the way were like knives. But a series of data appeared in front of Han Fei's eyes. Name Golden Squid Introduction, a product of the evolution and mutation of the lightning squid. It is as timid as a mouse and extremely fast. There is a bone in its body that can be used to refine spiritual weapons. Level 23 quality, exotic, contains spiritual energy greater than 468 points, edible effect, you can learn the speed talent after eating it, collectible squid bone, absorbable. Han Fei smiled. Exotic creature, no wonder it's so awesome. If it hadn't come to him, he wouldn't have been able to catch it. Puff, just as Han Fei was smiling, he heard a noise in front of him, and then a large mass of black ink appeared. Shit, squid, also known as cuttlefish, had ink sacs in its body. Usually, when it encountered danger, it would spit out the ink sacs and start to escape. At this moment, Han Fei plunged into the mass of black ink. At that moment, Han Fei felt like throwing up. His head was a bit dizzy and the world was spinning. Poisonous? Paralyzing effect. Han Fei felt that his head was twice as big as his head. Although he had taken the exotic poisonous fruit, this damn thing was not poisonous, or it could only be said to be half poisonous, so he couldn't completely resist it. Fortunately, the paralyzing effect of his body was being relieved, but the feeling of vomiting lingered for a long time. Squeak. The golden squid in front was anxious and seemed to be thinking, why can't I get rid of this thing? Swish in the water. A cold knife light rushed out and penetrated the golden squid's body in an instant. Bam! The golden squid directly crashed into a coral pile. Han Fei put away the knife and quickly came to its side. At this time, this guy finally remembered to use its tentacles. Puff! When a tentacle was cut off by Han Fei, the golden squid squeaked in pain and continued to run with strength that came from nowhere. But now it was not so easy to run. After 100 minutes, the golden squid's 10 tentacles were cut off by Han Fei, leaving only the 3 entangled by the fishing hook. Han Fei stood in front of this big squid. Run, keep running. If you have the guts, keep running. I can't catch you. Collect the demon. The golden squid, which had already had 7 tentacles cut off, was cut off again by Han Fei. At this moment, it was extremely weak, so the demon purification pot had no problem collecting the demon. Han Fei swam to the sea surface contentedly. He didn't have time to think too much. There were many seabed creatures in the level 2 fishery. At this moment, he saw a dragon-headed fish with a hideous head rushing at him. Han Fei held the water-stirring seal in his hand and smashed the dragon-headed fish to death with one blow, continuing to swim upward. Along the way, Han Fei encountered dragon-headed fish, human-faced crabs, but to his surprise, he was almost killed by the human-faced crab. Because at that moment, he saw an illusion. There were countless tentacles around him, so dense that he couldn't count them at all. If Little Black hadn't attacked the human-faced crab, Han Fei would have been entangled in the water for a while. Puff, the white fishing boat appeared on the sea. Han Fei lay on the boat and gasped for breath. It was really not easy to catch exotic creatures, far more difficult than rare creatures. Chapter 182. After lying on the fishing boat for less than 5 minutes, Han Fei felt movement under the boat. Needless to say, it was definitely those damn squids. Little Black bite me. Hey, no, I seem to have forgotten about Nine Tails. A shadow flashed on Han Fei's arm, and the nine-tailed mantis shrimp appeared. It froze for a moment and then saw a tentacle stretch over from the side of the boat. Without hesitation, Nine Tails hooked the tentacle with its 2 claws and began its squid tentacle movement. Guard the boat. If you dare to be naughty again, I'll stew you and eat shrimp meat. Han Fei finally knew why he selectively forgot this thing. If he let it possess him to fight, he would be a first-class fighter. If he let it out, it would definitely not be a good thing. But when it didn't come out, it began to attack the squid tentacles. Under the water, the squid was probably also stunned at this moment. What on earth did my tentacles go through? 5 or 6 angry tentacles emerged at once. Nine Tails froze for a moment. It seemed to have roared too much. With a flick of its tail, 4 or 5 tentacles broke off and fell on the deck. Han Fei leaned against the cabin and shouted to Nine Tails, "Stop fighting. Here, the tentacles are coming again." After a long time, Han Fei occasionally waved his knife. Nine Tails, who hadn't come out for a long time, was so excited that he ran all over the boat. Although those tentacles were not weak, Nine Tails was also a legendary creature. Although it hadn't fully evolved, ordinary squids couldn't deal with it. At this moment, Han Fei's Forge the Universe had been stuffed with tentacles. He decided to take these tentacles back to the barbecue stall of the fish dragons. With so many tentacles, he could sell them for a lot of money. About in the early morning, 4 hours before dawn, Han Fei saw a big fish on the sea, which jumped out of the sea with a plop and was dozens of meters long. Han Fei was stunned. What the hell is that? How could there be such a big whale in the level 2 fishery? Are you kidding me? The big fish swam straight to Han Fei's fishing boat. Han Fei was dumbfounded and hurriedly tried to control the fishing boat to escape. Roar, a sound similar to a dragon's roar sounded. Han Fei turned around and roared? Giant arowana? The only big fish he had seen so far that could make such a sound was Xia Xiaochan's giant arowana. A moment later, Han Fei saw Xia Xiaochan sitting diagonally on the back of the big fish, kicking the water with her 2 little feet. As for the squids, they all avoided the giant arawana's legs, making Xia Xiaochan look like a whale girl kicking the water uncomfortably. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan was waving at him. After Xia Xiaochan jumped on the fishing boat, she saw the nine-tailed mantis shrimp running around, wagging its tail wildly. Han Fei didn't even have time to pick up the tentacles all over the boat. Xia Xiaochan immediately sat on the ground. "Fortunately, your boat is strong. Why are you here? Where's your ship?" Xia Xiaochan looked at the tentacles on the side. "They're sinking. The level 2 fishery won't always be like this, right? I heard that others stay in the level 2 fishery for days at a time. Why did so many cuttlefish appear as soon as we arrived?" Xia Xiaochan asked. "Who knows? He was just unlucky. Anything could happen in the fishery. If we have time to take off, it doesn't matter. We can avoid them by driving the fishing boat to the mixed area." "Then why don't you go with them? Only with challenges can there be growth." "Forget it. Is there any barbecue? I'm hungry." Han Fei took out a few skewers of barbecue from his sea-swallowing seashell and handed them to Xia Xiaochan. Han Fei chuckled in his heart. "You almost destroyed your boat, but this giant arowana is really amazing. It's a bit too strong." Xia Xiaochan took a bite of garlic prawns. Delicious. By the way, why are you here? I remember you seemed to be going south or west. Not in the same direction as me, right? Han Fei snorted. I'm floating on the sea. How do I know where I'm floating to? It wasn't that Han Fei felt he needed to hide the fact that he had caught an exotic creature. The point was that the golden squid was lying in the demon purification pot and he couldn't take it out now. Xia Xiaochan looked at the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and commented, "Your mantis shrimp is not bad. With it guarding the boat, you don't need to do anything." Han Fei asked with a smile, "Have you ever considered catching a contractual spiritual fish?" Xia Xiaochan shook her head indifferently. "I don't like any. The rare ones are useless and I can't catch any exotic ones. I thought I would catch one in the level 2 fishery." Han Fei nodded. This was true. Among the 5 of them, only he had a contractual spiritual beast. But Han Fei knew that the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and he were not in a contractual relationship, but others didn't know. Xia Xiaochan and the others didn't. They should all be waiting to catch a powerful contractual spiritual beast. Xia Xiaochan suddenly asked, "Let's go find Quang?" Han Fei asked, "What about Xiaobai and Zhang Xuanyu?" Xia Xiaochan asked, "Xiaobai is a manipulator. It was impossible for these squids to hurt her. Zhang Xuanyu has a bloodthirsty shark. Even if his fishing boat sinks, he can ride a big shark and wander on the sea like me. Quang is different. His spiritual clam can't swim." Han Fei nodded. Since he had met Xia Xiaochan, he didn't need to practice the water vein technique. Han Fei felt that he had almost finished studying his spiritual beast. As for the true meaning of fishing that old Bai mentioned, he really didn't find it. He couldn't just throw the hook into the sea and catch it blindly, could he? Luren Quang was helpless. What did he do to deserve this? Were these squids sick? They didn't want to stay in such a large sea but climbed onto the boat. In the dark, there was a magical scene. The fishing boat under Luren Quang's feet was full of weapons floating in all directions. In terms of group battles, armorists even had an advantage over soul warriors. All kinds of swords and knives were dancing and tentacles were flying in the sky. When Han Fei arrived, the fishing boat under Luren Quang's feet was riddled with holes, not torn by the squids, but by his own weapons. Seeing Han Fei's fishing boat, Luren Quang immediately greeted him. "Oh, Han Fei, I miss you so much. Come and help me." A few minutes later, the 3 of them were sitting on Han Fei's fishing boat and eating barbecue. Luren Quang's fishing boat gradually began to seep and had sunk halfway. Luren Quang muttered, "Why is our fishing boat so broken? No, I have to find a way to dig some wood from the bottom of the sea and build my own fishing boat." The night passed. Of the 5 people's fishing boats, 3 had sunk. Soon after dawn, Zhang Xuanyu came back riding a shark. Then, less than half an hour later, Luo Xiaobai came back. Luo Xiaobai's fishing boat was also almost broken. She got on Han Fei's fishing boat and saw the 4 of them were all there. She couldn't help asking, "When did you come back?" Zhang Xuanyu replied, "I came back when the fishing boat was broken. That fishing boat is too weak. I was almost dragged down by those damned squids." Luo Xiaobai added, "Last night was a special situation, but now there is only one fishing boat left. Why don't we act together?" Han Fei suggested, "Let's not run around and discuss how our research on spiritual beasts is going." Luren Quang muttered, "What can I do? My spiritual vitality clam can absorb spiritual chi very quickly. Its defense is extremely strong. Well, but yesterday I found that it can change color. It can become the same color as the squids." Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. There are so many creatures that can change color. There are at least 8,000 kinds of creatures in the sea that can change color. What kind of ability is this? Luo Xiaobai replied, "No. This is also an ability. At least it proves that the spiritual clam has a camouflage ability. My blue cannibal flower can release a wide range of paralyzing venom. It was because of this venom that I was safe last night." Xia Xiaochan added, "It seems that everyone has a new understanding of spiritual beasts." With that, Xia Xiaochan's figure disappeared and appeared directly on the bow of the boat. "Shit, what the hell is this ability?" Everyone was stunned, including Han Fei. "This speed is too fast. Is it a shadow? This speed is too fast." In the blink of an eye, she disappeared. Xia Xiaochan explained, "This is the special ability of Shadow Shrimp. It can move to any place within 100 meters in an instant." Everyone. Zhang Xuanyu suddenly pointed to the big shark in the water and said angrily, "Look at it, and then look at yourself. I don't even want to talk about you. You're so big, but you're useless." After cursing for a long time, Zhang Xuanyu shrugged and said, "I can control some low-level creatures. I can attach a trace of spiritual energy to these creatures. But the rare ones are more difficult to control and have a high probability of failure." Everyone. Han Fei was taken aback. "So, you can become a fish?" Zhang Xuanyu explained, "No, I'm still me, but I can control a fish. Then I'll have two visions at the same time." Everyone was surprised. What would it be like to have the vision of a fish? Only Han Fei was thinking, "I've already become a fish and the vision of a fish is so ugly." Of course, Han Fei was even more uncertain whether these guys had really revealed all the information. For example, it had only been one night and they could even teleport. Were they serious? Luo Xiaobai asked, "Han Fei, what about you?" Chapter 183. Everyone was staring at Han Fei. Han Fei thought for a moment. He couldn't say that he could enter the soul ocean, could he? This ability seemed a little overboard. So Han Fei said, "My little white can look for creatures other than rare creatures in the sea, such as exotic creatures. Last night, I was chasing an exotic creature and somehow ran into Xia Xiaochan." "Exotic creatures?" everyone said in unison and looked at Han Fei with glowing eyes. Han Fei smiled bitterly. "Don't be too excited. If we are discovered by exotic creatures, they will hide and it will be difficult to find us again. Moreover, these creatures have extremely fast reflexes and escape abilities, making them very difficult to catch." Zhang Xuanyu said excitedly, "What's so difficult about it? There are 5 of us. As long as we can locate it, we won't have to worry about not being able to catch it." Xia Xiaochan was eager to try. "I can teleport. As long as I can get within 100 meters of it, I can catch it." Han Fei was taken aback. That seemed to be the case. Wasn't Xia Xiaochan's ability too terrifying? Teleportation, this was simply a godly skill. Luo Xiaobai said, "I can release paralysis toxins around." Lu Renquang raised his hand. "I can," Zhang Xuanyu said disdainfully. "No, you can't. Your spiritual essence clam can change color. What's the use of that? I still have to do it. I can control the weakest fish in the level 2 fishery and help with observation." Lu Renquang. Everyone chimed in. Immediately, everyone looked at Han Fei again. Xia Xiaochan's eyes were fiery. "Yes, big brother, our contractual spiritual beasts depend on you." Han Fei shivered. "Be normal." "Humph." Han Fei forced a smile. "Shall we go to the level 3 fishery? Don't you feel that it's a bit of a loss for you to contract a contractual spiritual beast from the level 2 fishery?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "Exotic contractual spiritual beasts can grow with their masters and may not be weaker than the exotic creatures in the level 3 fishery." Xia Xiaochan echoed, "This kind of creature is not restricted to fisheries. Exotic species were on the same level. They might be an accident in the level 2 fishery, or they were not strong enough to go to the level 3 fishery, or there were other reasons. But they are definitely not common creatures in the level 2 fishery." Soon, everyone reached an agreement and looked at Han Fei expectantly. "Okay. I wasn't sure if Xiaobai could find it. Let me try." Luo Xiaobai hesitated and said, "Can you change its name?" Han Fei ignored Luo Xiaobai and touched Little White's head. "Little White, can you find another creature like the golden snitch yesterday?" Let's look for it. Little White dived into the water and spun around in confusion. In the end, he seemed a little uncertain as he chose a direction. The others did not know if Little White was really reliable. They only knew that Little White had started to lead the way and was very happy. They were all chatting about what kind of exotic creatures they could get their hands on. Lu Renquang shouted, "I want a turtle, I want an exotic turtle. In this way, my defense power will definitely catch up with Han Fei." Zhang Xuanyu revealed a yearning look. "I want a fast one, the faster the better. Who cares what it is?" Luo Xiaobai said, "I need someone who can attack and defend, so that I can make up for my shortcomings as a manipulator." Xia Xiaochan said, "I want a very strong attack power, very strong." Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. "You aren't weak now, right? Few great fishing masters can block your dagger." Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei. "No, he can block it. I want to stab him." Han Fei was speechless. "No, it seems that exotic creatures are already in your bag. And you, Xia Xiaochan, can you stop thinking about stabbing me every day? Did I provoke you?" Xia Xiaochan replied, "Yes, I did." Han Fei. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai said, "Well, let's learn the voice transmission technique." "Everyone," Luo Xiaobai explained, "before we came, my teacher guessed that we would go into the water, so he prepared a small technique for me that can allow us to transmit voice in the water." Han Fei was surprised. "Is there such a thing?" Han Fei was speechless. Before, when he went into the sea, he was either alone or gesticulated with others. But now it was so advanced? You can transmit voice? How? The others were also dumbfounded. It seemed that they had heard this thing for the first time. Luo Xiaobai continued, "I thought we wouldn't go into the sea so soon, but I didn't expect that only one day." With that said, Luo Xiaobai took out a jade slip. Transmitting voice is actually very simple. You just need to practice it a little. Everyone took the jade slip suspiciously. When they saw the so-called voice transmission technique, they all looked strange. When Han Fei took the jade slip, he also looked strange. The so-called voice transmission technique was actually a kind of energy fluctuation produced by the combination of spiritual power and spiritual energy. Amazingly, it was simple to operate but very demanding. Spiritual power was something that no one could predict. However, it was basically impossible for a fisher or fishing master to transmit voice, mainly because their spiritual power was not up to the standard. But a great fishing master was different. By combining spiritual power and spiritual energy, he could easily form a vibration in the other party's mind. Although Han Fei didn't find out the principle, he tried it and called Xia Xiaochan a few times. "Hey, hey, hey." Xia Xiaochan slapped Han Fei. "Do you want to die? What do you mean, hey?" Han Fei was helpless. "Didn't I do an experiment?" Xia Xiaochan asked. "Why do you all want me to do experiments?" "There are 3 voices in my head." Everyone. Then 2 voices appeared in Han Fei's head. Lu Renquang said, "I want to eat barbecue." Zhang Xuanyu asked, "Are you two in love?" Han Fei said with a black face, "Okay, no need to try. It's very simple and consumes very little energy." The 5 of them all looked weird. No one knew what they were talking about. Anyway, the scene was very embarrassing. Han Fei thought that maybe he was the only one who called them, "Hey, hey, hey." The others were just as Zhang Xuanyu had asked. They didn't know what they were talking about. Han Fei suddenly looked at Zhang Xuanyu. "What did you do to Hu Karen from the First Academy? I heard that you abducted the little girl for a night." Zhang Xuanyu replied, "Same here. I heard that you abducted He Xiaoyu. What did you do?" Han Fei replied, "I just said a few words to He Xiaoyu. You didn't come back at all." Zhang Xuanyu said, "Let me tell you, don't cheat on me. Otherwise we can't be brothers." Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu looked at each other, as if they were flirting. Xia Xiaochan asked, "Are you two secretly chatting? What are you talking about?" Han Fei snorted. "No. What do I have to talk about with him? If I want to talk, I'll talk to you. Zhang Xuanyu scoffed. I can't. I was just in a trance. Little White swam for more than an hour and traveled nearly 1,000 kilometers. During this period, Han Fei received voice transmissions from the four people from time to time, asking all kinds of strange questions. Looking at the reactions of the others, they seemed to be chatting with great interest. It was even more convenient than making a phone call. Suddenly, Little White stopped. Han Fei shouted, "Stop chatting. I found it." Everyone was shocked and all stuck their heads out of the boat. Han Fei said, "You can't just cast the fishing rod. That's how I scared away a golden snitch yesterday." Zhang Xuanyu said, "Don't worry. Let me do it. Cast the rod 3 meters and catch a small fish." Luo Xiaobai immediately waved the fishing rod, and after 10 minutes, a yellow-bone fish was caught. Yellow-bone fish, like striped fish, was a common fish in the level 2 fishery. It got its name because its bones were extremely hard and could be made into weapons. Zhang Xuanyu's face changed slightly, and his eyes became dull. The next moment, the yellow-bone fish jumped and stared at Han Fei and the others. Zhang Xuanyu took a breath and said, "It's so ugly. Okay, throw it down." Everyone. Han Fei chuckled. After a while, when everyone was nervous and excited, Zhang Xuanyu suddenly said, "It's a turtle, Silver." "Oh no, it's stabbed with many knives, too many to count." Lu Renkuang immediately patted his thigh. "Mine, mine. Ha ha ha, the first one is mine." Everyone was not disappointed because the first exotic creature was Lu Renkuang's, but even more delighted. Since Little White could really find it, it was only a matter of time before they continued to find others. Chapter 184. Now that he knew it was a tortoise, he had achieved his goal. Han Fei hurriedly said, "Don't let your yellow croaker bones get too close. Stay away." Luo Xiaobai asked, "How deep is it?" Zhang Xuanyu said, "About 200 meters underwater, lying on a stone platform in the middle of a coral bush." Luo Xiaobai said, "I'll enter the water first and spread paralysis toxins within 100 meters. Expand it a little bit. We don't understand this turtle. What if it's a godly speed tortoise and runs away in a flash? What should we do?" Everyone was speechless. How could there be so many creatures with such strange speed? Zhang Xuanyu said, "Wait, that turtle found me. Holy shit, he can still discover me from dozens of meters away. I'll swim away now." Luo Xiaobai paused. "Then should I go or not? This turtle seems to be very smart. Can you spread poison on the water?" Luo Xiaobai shook her head. "No, maybe Zhang Xuanyu will go down with me. My vines will go from the bottom of the sea." "No, as soon as your vines come out, the other creatures nearby will be alarmed. There's no reason this big turtle wouldn't be alarmed." Lu Renkuang was anxious. "Why don't we go up and fight them?" Zhang Xuanyu suggested. "It seems to work. At most, we can surround them from 5 directions." Han Fei thought for a while. He didn't have any experience, so he nodded and said, "To be on the safe side, let's approach from 500 meters away. Zhang Xuanyu, keep an eye on him from a distance. We have to be fast. Otherwise, just the fishes and prawns in the sea will be very troublesome." Xia Shaochan said, "I can approach you in stealth mode and wait for you 100 meters away. If it wants to escape, I can teleport over." "Is there no limit to your teleportation?" Xia Shaochan muttered, "I need to pause for a breath." Everyone was speechless. Teleportation was already very freakish, but you managed to do it in a single breath? Without hesitation, everyone used their own methods to run 500 meters away. Luo Xiaobai used vines, Zhang Xuanyu used waves, Xia Shaochan turned invisible, Han Fei could step on air, and Lu Renkuang stood on the saber. As soon as Han Fei entered the water, a string fish entangled him. Han Fei asked Little Black to bite it to death, and he dodged the attacking fish with various postures. Han Fei sent a voice transmission to Lu Renkuang. Fortunately, the distance was not too far. Although it was a bit intermittent, it could still be transmitted. Have we reached the bottom of the sea? Lu Renquang said. Yes, but a large group of demonic fish are attacking me. Kill them quickly. On the other side, Xia Xiaochan sent a voice transmission, ready. Luo Xiaobai said, sprint in 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Buzz, Han Fei immediately activated the Wandering Dragon art. As soon as Lu Renquang launched torrents of knives and swords, the surrounding demonic fish were shattered. Zhang Xuanyu summoned the bloodthirsty shark and began to sprint. Luo Xiaobai was like a witch in the sea, supported by thousands of vines, moving forward quickly. Han Fei had just swum nearly 200 meters, and the others were only about 300 meters. Suddenly, Xia Xiaochan said to him via voice transmission, "Little White, in your direction." It found out and wanted to run. At this moment, everyone was extremely anxious and used their fastest speed. Battle techniques and whatnot, he used all of them. Any demonic fish that stood in his way were all killed. Luo Xiaobai said in surprise, "He's as fast as me. I can block him." Han Fei and the others only felt violent spiritual energy fluctuations erupting hundreds of meters away. Then, the water was filled with broken vines. Roar, dragon roar? Han Fei was shocked. Xia Xiaochan even used the giant arowana against a turtle? In just a dozen seconds, a big battle seemed to have broken out over there. Han Fei saw not only vines in the water, but also countless blades. These blades seemed to be spiritual and were stirring in the water. Luo Xiaobai said anxiously, "Come on, I can't block it anymore." Han Fei burst out with all his strength and looked closer, only to see thousands of blades revolving around this big turtle. Luo Xiaobai's vines were almost swept away. At this moment, blood was flowing from the corner of her mouth, and she was constantly producing vines to block. Little Black, bite it. Clank, clank, clank. Han Fei rushed over and dozens of blades flew at him, making clanking sounds. Torrents of swords and knives. Lu Renquang was anxious and used torrents of swords and knives from a distance of 200 meters. When Han Fei was within 100 meters of the big turtle, he found that Xia Xiaochan was surrounded by countless blades. It was a big turtle nearly 5 meters long. A string of data flashed in Han Fei's eyes. Name, 1000-blade turtle introduction, carries 1000 blades and evolves with the growth of the turtle body. Currently, each blade is an ultra-quality mortal weapon. Level 28 quality, exotic, contains spiritual energy greater than 662 points, edible effect, your vitality will soar after eating it. Collectible turtle blades, turtle shells, and turtle cores, absorbable. Xiaobai, back off. Let me do it. The 1000-blade turtle had obviously discovered Han Fei, and seemed to feel Han Fei's threat. At this moment, hundreds of blades rushed at Han Fei crazily. Clank, 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 water-stirring seal. A big seal slapped down in the water and blades flew everywhere. Seeing that Han Fei was close, the 1000-blade turtle seemed to find that Han Fei was difficult to deal with and immediately chose to escape. But in that direction, Zhang Xuanyu had already rushed over. Soul Strike. 7-layered waves in furious sea. On the other side, Lu Renquang's torrents of swords and knives also rushed over crazily. In the sea, blades and swords clashed. Bm. Han Fei quickly smashed the turtle shell with a seal. Clang, the violent metal knocking sound almost exploded the heads of the people in the water. The 1000-blade turtle was smashed away and smashed a coral bush. The various fish, crabs, and other creatures inside didn't even have time to escape and were instantly minced by the thousands of blades. What shocked Han Fei was that the 1000-blade turtle could still run away after being hit by him. However, at this time, Zhang Xuanyu's 7-layered sticks in furious sea arrived. The 7 sticks smashed quickly. After the 7th blow, Zhang Xuanyu himself was bounced back. Taking this opportunity, Han Fei smashed the turtle again. Clang, finally, the thousands of blades seemed to have lost control. Some returned to the turtle shell, and some scattered everywhere. Luo Xiaobai's vines flew over and tied the 1,000-blade turtle up. After a moment, on the fishing boat, a group of people sat on the deck. Zhang Xuanyu gasped. This turtle is too powerful. My 7-layered waves in furious sea bounced back at me. It was so powerful that I almost couldn't control it. Han Fei, heal me. Not only Xia Shaochan, but Luo Xiaobai was also the most seriously injured, with at least dozens of wounds on her body. 2 rays of light shone. Lu Renkuang looked at the 1,000-blade turtle as if seeing his little lover. At this moment, a weird laughter came from his mouth. Ha ha ha, baby, here I come. The 1,000-blade turtle was stunned by the water-stirring seal. Lu Renkuang cut his flesh and muttered. After a while, when the 1,000-blade turtle woke up, it struggled and roared, but then found that something was wrong and an invisible force controlled it. Lu Renkuang laughed. Ha ha ha. The 1,000-blade turtle. Too strong, too strong. Lu Renkuang was overjoyed, and the others all looked envious. This turtle was really strong. The 5 of them almost couldn't catch it. Its strength could be imagined. After a while, when the 1,000-blade turtle accepted this fact, Luo Xiaobai loosened the vines. Lu Renkuang put it into the water and muttered, "Go pick up your knives. Don't lose any of them, understand?" Xia Shaochan jumped up and down. "Let's go find the next one." Han Fei looked at Little White. However, Little White wandered in the water for a long time, ran to Han Fei, and gave him a mouthful of spiritual energy. Xia Shaochan asked, "What does Little White mean?" Han Fei said helplessly, "I haven't found it yet. Or let's change places first. There shouldn't be 2 exotic creatures in this small area." Luo Xiaobai agreed. "Yes, we ran thousands of miles away just for this 1,000-blade turtle. Maybe exotic creatures are territorial." Zhang Xuanyu suggested, "I'll control the fishing boat. Who will point in a direction?" Xia Shaochan suggested, south. Chapter 185. They floated on the sea for a full 6 days. On the 4th day, Zhang Xuanyu got his speed-type exotic contractual spiritual beast, the golden water silkworm, as he wished. Its characteristic was its speed. It was not just any kind of speed. It was a bug that was even faster than the golden flying bandit. Of course, it might be because its speed was so strong that it had no other advantages except for its speed. Of course, not everyone got the exotic contractual spiritual beasts that they wanted. Luo Xiaobai got an invisible jellyfish. She wanted to give it to Xia Shaochan. However, Xia Shaochan said that she could be invisible and didn't need it. So Luo Xiaobai took it herself. A manipulator who knew how to turn invisible was an extremely frightening thing. In battle, you could only see her controlling, but you couldn't find her. Wasn't it terrifying? Xia Shaochan was not so lucky. She hadn't met a suitable exotic creature yet. Xia Shaochan held Little White and said, Little White, find me one too. You've found them. Don't leave me behind." Pop! Little White kissed Xia Shaochan. Xia Shaochan giggled. "Oh, good girl. When you find my exotic contractual spiritual beast, I'll kiss you." Han Fei was speechless. "Oh, Little White is female." Xia Shaochan glared at Han Fei. "None of your business." Luo Xiaobai suggested again, "Han Fei, you really should give it a new name. Shall we call it Little White?" Luo Xiaobai. Just when they were joking, Little White suddenly jumped into the water and swam to the north. Xia Shaochan immediately shouted at Zhang Xuanyu, "Hurry up! Little White, I found it! I found it!" They had cooperated well these days. As long as they found it, they could take it. Seeing this, a smile appeared on everyone's faces. No one in the entire Blue Sea town was as lucky as they were. All of them had exotic contractual spiritual beasts. How many people would envy them? More than an hour later, they came to a barren sea. Xia Shaochan was still excited. Luo Xiaobai frowned. "No, wait a minute. We seem to be out of the level 2 fishery." Hearing this, everyone quickly gathered around. Luo Xiaobai pointed at the map and said, According to the map, we were at the edge of the level 2 fishery just now. But according to the speed of the fishing boat, I'm afraid we've gone another 1,500 kilometers. There's no record of this place. Lu Renkuang was eating barbecue and said casually, even if it happens, it doesn't matter. In any case, they weren't too far away. Wasn't the level 2 fishery a mixed area? You have to go to the level 3 fishery via the teleportation array. Luo Xiaobai shook her head. No, it's true that the area outside the level 2 fishery is a mixed area. However, outside the level 2 fishery was a mixed area that had hardly been explored. In the past few days we've gone out too far. For 6 whole days, although we took a few detours, the overall direction was always south. Han Fei wondered, why didn't I notice it before? Luo Xiaobai said, I thought we were going east, just a little south. However, when I looked at the map just now, I suddenly realized that the position of the sun is not right. We are indeed heading south. Han Fei smiled. Can you estimate how far we have run? Luo Xiaobai frowned. I'm afraid it's more than 20,000 kilometers. Pfft, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. 20,000 miles? They didn't feel it at all. In the past few days, everyone had been playing with their contractual spiritual beasts. Who cared about the direction? Xia Xiaochan said indifferently, forget it. Little Xiaobai has found it. Why don't we go down? It's impossible not to go down. Zhang Xuanyu nodded. It's just a mixed area. What are you afraid of? Han Fei didn't care. Let's go down. Even if we reach the level 3 fishery, the 5 of us can explore it together. Not to mention the mixed area next to the level 2 fishery. Luo Xiaobai nodded slightly. Okay, let's catch this one, go back the way we came and study the fishing method that the president mentioned. After a while, Zhang Xuanyu saw through his second vision. It's a shrimp, red, half a meter long. This shrimp has wings on its back. I guess it will be very fast. Xia Xiaochan nodded. Shrimp? Well, shadow shrimp is also a shrimp. This red shrimp may not be bad. Underwater, they were still surrounded in a circle. However, now they had more helpers. 5 people, 6 spiritual beasts, and 4 contractual spiritual beasts. After several rounds of encirclement, everyone found that exotic creatures were extremely vigilant. Once they started fighting underwater, they would alarm the other party. Anyway, they might as well show all their strength and openly encircle the other party. After a moment, Zhang Xuanyu said, Quang, it's going towards you. Be careful, this shrimp is very fast and has a strong dodging ability. On Lu Renkuang's side, thousands of knife shadows were flying. He shouted, no matter how strong its dodging ability is, it can't even dodge the torrents of knives and swords launched by me and the 1,000-blade tortoise. Xia Xiaochan said nervously, Quang, what if you kill my contractual spiritual beast? Everyone was not far away. Suddenly, they saw the shrimp draw a strange arc in the water. Wherever the red prawn passed, it would leave a red mark. When they got closer, they found that it was simply a red flame that could still burn in the water. Not far from Lu Renkuang, the shrimp flickered like a dancing elf. No matter how dense the knife blades were, it shuttled back and forth, leaving a strange route in the dark sea. Lu Renkuang shouted, No, I can't stop it. This little thing is too good at running. Xia Xiaochan was speechless. Why are you so fat? Chase, the 5 of them chased it frantically. Fortunately, this little thing was not as fast as they thought. It was more powerful in dodging. They surrounded it, but it ran away. Fortunately, wherever this little thing passed, it would leave a red flame, so they didn't lose it. Han Fei ran in the front and attacked it several times to no avail. Suddenly, he saw a huge trench in front of him, like a cliff in the sea. It was a bit like the shipwreck pit in the ordinary fishery. It was also narrow and seemed to have been cut out by a knife, but this trench was a bit long. Han Fei said, Attention, it's going down. Below is a very deep trench, but I don't know how deep it is. In addition, there are fewer fish nearby. There are almost no group fish. Be careful. After a while, they all rushed into the trench and chased it all the way to a depth of a kilometer. There were almost no fish around. Luo Xiaobai came back to her senses. Something is wrong. This place is weird. Zhang Xuanyu said, I can probably hold on for about a quarter of an hour. I need to breathe. Luo Xiaobai threw a vine over. Bite it open. There is air in it. Everyone looked at Luo Xiaobai in surprise. Not bad. There were quite a lot of flashy little tricks. Lu Renquang said, There is a hole below. It ran into the hole. Should we chase it? Xia Xiaochan said, Yes, be careful. Everyone rushed into the hole. Suddenly, Han Fei frowned slightly, feeling that something was wrong. Han Fei frowned. Don't you feel that the temperature in this cave is a bit high? Luo Xiaobai said, It is indeed a bit high. Maybe this is the reason why the flame shrimp evolved. Then, after only a few minutes, everyone stopped. They were stunned by the scene in front of them. All kinds of colorful creatures were entangled in this cave. In the second half of the cave, there were no less than 1,000 kinds of creatures. But they were all low-level creatures. Even the sea anemones here were just ordinary sea anemones. And the red shrimp had nowhere to go at this moment and was scurrying around in the innermost part of the cave. Xia Xiaochan's eyes lit up. Finally, I've caught you, my contractual spiritual beast. Luo Xiaobai said, I'll block the way out. The others attack. Xiaochan teleports to catch it. Something is wrong here. Let's finish it quickly and then leave. Chapter 186. Everyone attacked together. With a flash of Xia Xiaochan, the red lobster was hit against the rock wall. Xia Xiaochan said, It's very hot. Let's beat it first and then sign the contract. Half an hour later, the red fire lobster finally compromised. The contract process was very fast. Xia Xiaochan said, Red fire tricky lobster, what a strange name. Xia Xiaochan wanted to try the ability of the red fire tricky lobster, but Han Fei ran to the innermost part of the cave, picked up a knife, and slashed crazily. Luo Xiaobai asked, Han Fei, what's wrong? Xia Xiaochan was surprised. What's wrong with you? Han Fei pointed at the rock wall and said, This place is strange. According to my experience in the sea, there's something here. Everyone rolled their eyes. You've been in the sea for so many years? You're just bragging. However, then they couldn't laugh anymore because they saw the rock wall was breaking. Gradually, a green jade door carved with patterns of aquatic plants was revealed. When this stone door appeared, everyone felt that the surrounding temperature seemed to be rising again. Zhang Xuanyu said excitedly, Treasures, there must be treasures here. We found a treasure cave. Han Fei was also very excited. He didn't expect that he would dig out a treasure when he captured a contractual spiritual beast. The sea was indeed the most mysterious place in the world, and there were treasures everywhere. Han Fei said, Help me knock open the rock wall next to it and see if there's anything else on the door. Luo Xiaobai said, Be careful. There may be something hot behind the door. After a while, a complete door appeared, with the words, Fire Cloud Cave written on it. Lu Renquang looked at the words for a long time. Is this an ancient relic? It looks like it's very powerful. Han Fei dragged him away. Step back. I'll try to open the door. Everyone stepped back dozens of steps. Luo Xiaobai said, Lu Renquang, prepare the shield. Under everyone's nervous gaze, Han Fei stomped and tried to push the door open with all his strength. But the door didn't budge at all. Lu Renquang quickly stepped forward. Let me help you. So the two fatties tried their best, but the result was the same. The door still didn't budge. Zhang Xuanyu said, Me too. The result was still the same. Suddenly, Xia Xiaochan said, Try to pull it up. Pull up? The three of them stared at each other and tentatively pulled it. As a result, the three of them pulled the door open. What followed was a wave of heat, and at the same time, a huge suction force came from the door. Everyone felt their bodies tilt and their vision blur. The next moment, they were standing in the cave. Xia Xiaochan muttered, 3 idiots. The 3 of them. At this moment no one retorted, because the scene in front of them had truly stunned them. Behind the door was a stove that was extremely hot. The surging waves of heat were emitted from the furnace. It was a circular space of less than 500 square meters. Apart from a large furnace placed at the entrance, there were only gray rock walls on both sides. In the middle, there was an irregular rock that was narrow at the top and wide at the bottom, connecting the top and the bottom of this space. My sea god! Did we really find the treasure? Zhang Xuanyu was so excited that he wanted to get closer to the stove. However, when he was 2 meters away from the stove, he was sent flying by a strange, scorching force. Fortunately, Luo Xiaobai reacted quickly and pulled him with a vine. Luo Xiaobai frowned slightly and said, "Be careful, this place is hidden very deep. It doesn't look like an ordinary treasure place. Don't be careless." Clang! Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. They saw that Lu Renquang was holding a knife and knocking on a stone on the rock wall. It was a kind of blue jade, which seemed to contain some spiritual energy. Han Fei was speechless. "Quang, you are really short-sighted. Why didn't you look at such a big furnace?" Lu Renquang said contemptuously, "There's nothing in that furnace. You'll know if you look up and see inside." Han Fei didn't believe it, so he deliberately stepped on the air, only to see that there was magma in the furnace. Luo Xiaobai said, "It's earth fire. This space is connected to earth fire. Come and see." Xia Xiaochan stood in front of a rock wall and seemed to have found something. When everyone gathered around, they found some murals on this rock wall. On the murals, a man with wings on his back, holding a spear and confronting a dragon. Looking at the murals, everyone roughly understood the cause and effect. It was said that an unknown dragon came to this level 2 fishery and caused a large number of fishing boats here to go missing. Later, a strong master came from high in the clouds with a group of people. This strong master bravely slayed the dragon with his men and went through several battles. Although they slayed the dragon in the end, most of his men were killed and the strong master was seriously injured. Later, this strong master found that this place was connected to earth fire and tried to recuperate here. Xia Xiaochan shook her head. "This is not a dragon. If it were a legendary dragon, these people would have been killed as soon as they met. Take my great Xia Arowana for example. In the same realm, there aren't many people who can block its throat." Han Fei nodded in agreement. "Although I don't think it's a dragon, this thing can kill so many winged creatures. It should be very strong." "What do you mean by so many winged creatures?" "They were all hidden fishers, but they were all killed. They were all gone. I'm afraid it's not easy to get the treasure." Zhang Xuanyu smacked his lips and guessed, as if he knew very well. Rumble, Han Fei and the others quickly looked back, only to find that Lu Renquang and Xia Xiaochan had run to the rock wall dozens of meters away. There was no telling who pressed the switch, but at this moment, a stone door was rumbling open. Lu Renquang looked at everyone apologetically. Sorry. Xia Xiaochan was about to stick her head into the hole when she was caught by vines. Luo Xiaobai looked at the 2 of them with a headache and said, "Calm down. This place is weird. Don't run around." Xia Xiaochan giggled. "If we can't get out, we have to go in. Even if there is danger, it's behind us." Han Fei found that he was not the only one who liked treasure hunting. It turned out that everyone liked it. "Look at her, she's even more active than me." Zhang Xuanyu licked his lips. "Let's go in. There seems to be no danger here." Han Fei leaned over and saw not only the big dark hole, but also the lights on both sides that had long been extinguished. He immediately narrowed his eyes. "Wait a minute. Xia Xiaochan, try to light this light for me." Xia Xiaochan pointed her finger, and a string of flames emerged, which made Han Fei's imagination run wild. There were really all kinds of strange creatures in the sea. More importantly, when you obtained some special contractual spiritual beasts, you could have special abilities. Isn't it too cool? Her finger is even more useful than a lighter. In the next moment, a string of lights was ignited and extended all the way down. Han Fei was slightly stunned. An everlasting lamp? Why do I feel that this is a tomb and this is a pathway? A tomb? Han Fei nodded. Yes, according to the information on the mural, this expert healed his wounds here with the help of the earth fire. But if that's the case, why did he deliberately build these light slots on the walls on both sides? Luo Xiaobai thought for a moment. Don't move. Let me try. Luo Xiaobai stretched out her hand, and the vines extended along the ground and the wall. After a few minutes, all the vines suddenly broke. Luo Xiaobai shivered and her face was a little pale. Xia Xiaochan quickly supported her and asked, Xiaobai, what did you see? Luo Xiaobai looked awful. Human face crabs. A lot. They're clinging to the holes around the wall. I just disturbed them. Hiss, everybody gasped. The human face crabs could create illusions. How could they deal with a lot of human face crabs? Xia Xiaochan, Luo Xiaobai, and Zhang Xuanyu all stepped back. Lu Renkuang was dumbfounded. Why are you looking at us? Han Fei rolled his eyes and wanted to step back too. But Xia Xiaochan poked him with a knife. Why are you stepping back? The human face crabs can only create illusions, but they're not strong enough to break your defense. Han Fei said innocently, what if I'm hallucinating and attack you? Isn't it easy to let Lu Renkuang sweep them with torrents of knives and swords? Zhang Xuanyu patted Han Fei's shoulder and said solemnly, Fei, with your reminder, you can attract them to attack you if you stand inside. In this way, those human face crabs won't care about us. Han Fei's face darkened. You're such a bad friend. Luo Xiaobai said, if Lu Renkuang is bewildered, only you can completely block his torrents of knives and swords. Lu Renkuang. Han Fei. Chapter 187. Han Fei and Lu Renkuang were ruthlessly betrayed just like that. The two of them walked into the cave with their arms around each other's shoulders. Lu Renkuang asked, I'm afraid of the dark. Why don't you walk in front? Han Fei was speechless. Why weren't you afraid of the dark when you went into the sea to catch turtles? Lu Renkuang shrugged. I'm intermittent. Han Fei. Han Fei walked forward and even enjoyed it a little bit. In this state of adventure, when people knew nothing about the road ahead, they would generally have two emotions, one was fear and the other was excitement. Obviously, Han Fei was more excited. Human-faced crabs are just human-faced crabs. Can they chop me like vegetables? After walking for less than 50 meters, Han Fei suddenly stopped. Lu Renkuang stuck out his head. Why did you stop? Han Fei turned his head stiffly, with a creepy smile on his face and creepy sounds coming from his mouth. Damn it. Ha ha ha. Han Fei suddenly returned to normal, pointing at the dumbfounded Lu Renkuang and laughing. Surprised? Surprised? Han Fei, I'm going to kill you, outside the passage. Luo Xiaobai's face changed slightly. Lu Renkuang has been bewitched? Zhang Xuanyu looked around. No, didn't you hear Han Fei laughing? He was so wretched. Xia Xiaochan nodded, determined not to go in. Han Fei's bad taste was satisfied. The two of them played for a while in the passage, and then Lu Renkuang suddenly stopped and took out the box with a swish. Han Fei blinked and couldn't laugh anymore. He heard a rustling sound behind him. Han Fei didn't look back but looked at Lu Renkuang. Seriously? Are you going to use torrents of knives and swords? Lu Renkuang shivered. Take it. How about you use them with me? I remember your blade storm is not bad either. Han Fei felt that the fishing rod behind him was hooked. Thus, he immediately lashed out with his twin sabers, slicing one of the human-faced crabs in half. But then his blood froze. He finally knew why Luo Xiaobai said there were a lot of human-faced crabs. How was this a lot? They were so densely packed that they looked like a swarm of locusts. Torrents of knives and swords. Blade storm. Almost instantaneously both of them reacted. In the first few seconds, Han Fei felt like he was mincing meat, and a lot of broken shells hit his face. Then, he felt that something was wrong. His position had changed. The tunnel was still the tunnel, the human-faced crabs were still human-faced crabs, and Lu Renquang was gone. Illusion, this is all an illusion. As soon as Han Fei finished the illusion, the position changed again. He found himself in a circular space full of steel thorns, and countless marching sea leeches crawled out from the steel thorns. The steel thorns would also stab him in large quantities, causing his entire body to emit clanking sounds. You want to charm me? Pretending to be marching sea leeches? Am I not giving you face? Explode. As Han Fei blasted out a spiritual energy explosion, the steel spike ball disappeared. But Han Fei found that this was not a tunnel at all, and he didn't feel any pain anymore. Instead, he saw more than 10 washbasin-sized eyes that emitted a faint green light. Hiss! Damn it, what a big crab! Han Fei swallowed. He saw a crab tens of meters long with a gloomy face. More importantly, this thing was smiling and staring at Han Fei with its mouth open and closed. He would be lying if he said he was not nervous. Strength and fear of the unknown didn't conflict at all. Han Fei took a few steps back. Brother Crab, how are you? A crab leg flashed by in an instant, and Han Fei's body made a weird posture and he rolled back on his back. The crab leg was less than a centimeter away from his nose, which made his scalp go numb. Rumble, Han Fei looked back, only to see that this small hole had been smashed by the crab leg, and gravel was rolling. Shoot! Brother Crab, I was just passing by. You don't have to be so cruel, do you? Thinking of the knife just now, it was too fast. If it weren't for his tense body, his head might have been cut off at this moment. Huh? Wait. Suddenly, Han Fei froze. I should be able to see the data. Even if you are a question mark, I should be able to see the question mark. But you don't even have a question mark. Are you fake? When the crab leg slashed at him again, Han Fei raised the 2 knives and slashed. Crack! The huge crab leg was easily cut off by Han Fei. Who? That scared the hell out of me. Han Fei cursed aloud. Don't pretend to be cool if you're not strong enough. You scared me. I thought you were really that big. Han Fei took the initiative to attack. At this moment, the big crab suddenly turned into many small crabs and began to besiege him. Explode. Explode is healthier. I'll absorb. Han Fei could clearly sense that spiritual energy was flowing in. It meant that the human-faced crabs must have been slaughtered by him. It did make sense. There were so many crabs, and they couldn't be gone so easily. The silence was a bit weird. Unfortunately, the crabs were gone after the explosion of spiritual energy. But Han Fei didn't return to reality. Instead, he found himself on a fishing boat at sea. Captain, we're here. Shall we go into the water to explore? Hiss! Han Fei really gasped and pinched himself, only to find that it hurt. How could the illusion be so realistic? Captain? Poochie! Han Fei slashed at the guy behind him without any hesitation. Han Fei scoffed. Lousy. You think you can mesmerize me with such an illusion? Attach. As soon as the 9-tailed mantis shrimp attached to him, the 7 chains began to sweep. Immediately, Han Fei was brought back to reality. The broken shells of the human-faced crabs were all over the ground. Many human-faced crabs were even fleeing. The scene was very real. But he didn't see Lu Renquang. This was very abnormal. Could it be that he was still in an illusion? No, if Lu Renquang were here, his torrents of knives and swords would have hit me. But I don't feel anything at all. Han Fei felt that he was lost. He turned around and shouted, Quang Quang. Nobody responded. He called Xia Shaochan and the others, but they still didn't respond. Heh. I'll just keep walking. Do you think I'm afraid? Han Fei walked on. There was no telling whether the human-faced crabs were scared or not, but fewer human-faced crabs tried to attack him. Han Fei was no longer as casual as he was at the beginning. He found that the further he went, the colder it was. Although he wasn't scared of the cold, he could feel it. Isn't there an earth fire? but the temperature is already below zero. What fire are you talking about? After Han Fei walked through the cold and gloomy passage, he saw a green dragon coiled up in a big hole. At this moment, the dragon was holding its head high and roaring at him. The roar was as loud as that of a giant arowana. F***ck, huh? No data. Is it fake? Han Fei thought to himself. He had learned his lesson and knew that the illusions of the human-faced crabs were impossible to guard against. The dragon before him was fake, but he saw data appearing on a protruding stone at the dragon's tail. Human-faced ghost crab. This is a mutation of the human-faced crab that swallowed the decayed body of the blue sea wandering dragon. It has a strong hallucinogenic ability. Level 31 exotic mutation. 982 points. Possible mental abnormalities after eating illusion bead. Han Fei sneered. So, it was you who was playing tricks. I knew it. How could an ordinary human-faced crab create such an absurd illusion? It turned out to be an exotic mutant human-faced crab. The dragon roared again and spurted a cold pillar of water at Han Fei. Han Fei didn't block it. Although he felt that his body was covered in ice, the ice was broken by his spiritual energy. Han Fei roared, "Crab die!" Chapter 188. Han Fei charged forward as if he didn't care about his life. The human-faced ghost crab didn't expect him to be so reckless either. He wasn't afraid of a dragon at all and even wanted to kill it. The moment Han Fei approached, he suddenly changed his direction and darted out 7 chains, tying up the rock that the human-faced ghost crab disguised as. Critical blow. The knife in his hand turned into a white light and stabbed at the human-faced ghost crab. In the next moment, the illusion was gone, and Han Fei saw a super big crab 7 meters long suddenly stand up. The rock he saw just now turned out to be one of the crab's pincers. F***ck. Han Fei saw that his knife pierced through the crab's pincers and infuriated it. When the crab stood up, Han Fei realized why it was called the human-faced ghost crab. On its abdomen there was a weird face, hideous, creepy, and terrifying. Although the 7 chains locked the human-faced ghost crab, the crab was already above level 30. It meant that the crab was as strong as a dangling fisher. Also, the crab's defense and strength were strong in the first place. He was thrown away and hit the rock wall. Little Black, get in. Han Fei wasn't panicked at all. Human-faced crabs weren't good at fighting. The only thing they were good at was creating illusions. Since the illusion had been broken by him, Han Fei wasn't scared even if the human-faced ghost crab was level 31. Little Black took the opportunity to sneak into the hole that Han Fei had just made. In the next moment, the human-faced crab began to wail, and all kinds of illusions changed in front of Han Fei. In the illusions, he saw the so-called dragon and a bunch of hidden fishers fighting. Dozens of hidden fishers attacked with all kinds of weapons. Manipulators, soul warriors, spirit gatherers, and so on. However, they were frozen by a blue gas that the green dragon spewed out. Apart from the battle, Han Fei also saw that the strongest expert drew the power of many people and pointed a finger at the dragon's head. The green light that the fingertips spurted out seemed to contain immense energy. Han Fei found it horrifying even though it was just an illusion. In an instant, dozens of scenes were switching. The human-faced ghost crab seemed to have lost its mind after being bitten by Little Black, and all the scenes of its life were replayed. This feeling was like a 5D movie, and Han Fei was in it. Han Fei saw that after slaying the dragon, the strong master's body cracked and almost collapsed. He dug up the dragon's corpse, ate the dragon's meat and liver, and barely managed to stabilize his injuries. However, his injuries were too severe. Extending his lifespan temporarily was completely useless. Thus, he used his remaining strength to open up this fire cloud cave. In order to prevent the dragon from reviving, he separated the dragon bones and scattered them in the cave. When he was opening up his immortal's cave, he accidentally discovered the earth fire, so he used the earth fire and the dragon corpse to refine pills. Unfortunately, because of the great drop in strength, the pill concoction failed. In the end, he couldn't hold on and died. And all of this was seen by a little crab. At first, this human-faced ghost crab was just an ordinary human-faced crab. It didn't dare to approach the pill cauldron or the dragon corpse for decades. It wasn't until it was nourished by the dragon chi that it dared to bite the bullet and eat some rotten dragon meat. Over time, the human-faced crab mutated and became the human-faced ghost crab that it was today. Suddenly, Han Fei stopped them. "Little Black, stop eating." Little Black emerged from the shell of the human-faced ghost crab, one of its pincers drooping. Obviously, it had finished eating. Han Fei ordered, "Collect the demon." Perhaps the human-faced ghost crab was too frightened, or perhaps it was timid, or perhaps it felt that death was coming, but the demon purification pot didn't encounter any resistance when it collected the demon. This human-faced ghost crab was immediately collected into the calabash and went to accompany the golden snitch. After the human-faced ghost crab was collected, the ordinary human-faced crabs immediately ran back to their nests to hide. And in the place where the human-faced ghost crab used to be, a crystal bone more than 3 meters long was exposed. Han Fei had seen the human-faced ghost crab's small bone. Dian Han Fei immediately recognized that it was a dragon bone. Excited, he immediately ran up to pick up the bone. As soon as he picked it up, Han Fei almost threw it away. His heart chilled, his heart soared, his bones were terrifyingly cold. Blue Sea Wandering Dragon Bone, the bone of the descendant of a dragon. It contains cold air. After a long time, its spiritual energy has been greatly reduced. It's an excellent material for forging spiritual weapons. Han Fei was shocked. Can it forge spiritual weapons? Is there really a dragon bone in this cave? Although there is only one here, it's so big that dozens of knives must have been cast. Putting away the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon Bone, Han Fei's heart was pounding. This is just a dragon bone. Logically speaking, there should be an entire set of dragon bones here. How could there be just one? If all the dragon bones were collected, then wouldn't the set of Million Knife School spiritual weapons be ready for completion? When Han Fei was about to continue exploring, he hesitated. Lu Renkuang was gone. Should I look for him? But the moment he turned around, he saw that the one hole he had come from had turned into 3. Damn! Which hole did I come from? Han Fei looked back at the hole behind the human-faced ghost crab. There was only one hole here. Was the purpose to make people more selective? Han Fei thought for a moment. Lu Renkuang was not simple, or rather, everyone was not simple. They all had trump cards. Even Xia Xiaochan had a giant arowana with her. If it was just a creature at the level of the human-faced ghost crab, it shouldn't be a big problem. With this in mind, Han Fei strode to the hole ahead. Unfortunately, Han Fei didn't know how to play with fire and couldn't light the lamp slot, so he could only grope in the dark. Fortunately, a cultivator's vision was very strong, and this pitch-black cave didn't scare him. The tunnel was very long. Halfway through, Han Fei stopped. He found a fiery crystal on the wall. He couldn't tell its quality, and the demon purification pot didn't react. However, this thing gave him a scorching feeling and seemed to be able to resist the cold air in the cave. Immediately, Han Fei took out a knife and began to pick it up. 2 Han Fei picked up nearly 100 fiery crystals in total and found that the road ahead was clear. It was also a big hole, even larger than the cave of the human-faced ghost crab. The cave was tens of meters high and inlaid with fiery crystals. However, this place was connected to the sea. Except for a circular passage for walking, it was a round swimming pool, and the water was extremely clear. Han Fei saw a super-large skull more than 10 meters long lying quietly in the water. Hiss! A dragon head? Beside the dragon head, there were various colored corals and some sea anemones, but no small fish or shrimp. Goodoo! Han Fei swallowed. Did I just find the dragon head so easily? Han Fei felt that the demon purification pot on his wrist lit up. Recently, the demon purification pot had been quiet and rarely lit up. Only then did Han Fei find that the water here was full of spiritual energy. Han Fei took a deep breath and still felt cold. But because of the abundant spiritual energy, he felt refreshed and his eyes were clear. If he cultivated here, he would definitely make great progress. He ignored the fiery crystals on the rock wall above his head. There were so many of them that they couldn't be of good quality. He had no desire to collect them at all. Wang. Han Fei stared at the dragon head, and his face suddenly changed. There seemed to be some small stones inlaid at the bottom of the dragon head. Why did they look so familiar? Hiss. Spiritual stones. Shoot. Han Fei immediately got excited. He was wondering where the spiritual energy came from. Then he found spiritual stones. Whatever he lacked, he found them. Han Fei stepped out, but then he withdrew his foot. It was a bit strange that the dragon head was right here. By rights, there should be a lot of creatures here. But now there was none? Was there none, or did he not see it? Han Fei took out his fishing rod and tried to pull the dragon head up. He felt that this place was a bit weird, so he'd better be careful. The fishing hook went straight to the dragon head in the water. Come up. Hiss, it's so heavy. Just when Han Fei was struggling to pull it up, a long and huge shadow suddenly flashed by in the water. Han Fei couldn't see what it was at all, but he could only guess that it was about 7 or 8 meters long. Before Han Fei could think more, the fishing line was suddenly broken. Under the inertia, Han Fei stepped back 5 or 6 steps. He hurriedly ran to the edge of the pool again. What was that? 17. Chapter 189. Han Fei shivered slightly. Sometimes it was true that the enemy was not afraid of being strong, but people were afraid of being frightened. Wouldn't you be afraid of something that you could only see its shadow swimming past you in an instant? Han Fei glanced at his fishing rod. This was the first time the fishing line had snapped. Was the quality of the fishing rod too poor? No, although the black iron rod wasn't great, it was still a mortal-level high-quality fishing rod. How could it be broken so easily? Han Fei suspected that the creature in the water was either very powerful or had extremely sharp blades like the bladefish and the swordfish. Attach. Han Fei thought for a moment. The tail of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was very strong. Even if the guy in the water was comparable to a dangling fisher, he couldn't just cut the 7-star chain. Puff, 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 the chains entered the water and locked onto the dragon's head from 7 directions. At that moment, Han Fei felt cold all over. How could the cold air on the dragon head be so heavy? Hula! The figure in the water appeared again, and when it swept past the chains, it made a chi-la sound. Han Fei could even see sparks in the water. Fortunately, the 7-star chain was clearly able to withstand the attacks of the underwater monsters. This meant that the sea monster wasn't strong enough to make one's hair stand on end. Otherwise, even if the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was a legendary creature, it wouldn't be able to resist absolute strength. Get up here! Han Fei gathered his strength and pulled back fiercely. As the dragon head was moved, it seemed like it was going to break the corals in the water. But when the dragon head was pulled, the chain was frozen in an instant, and Han Fei's whole body was covered with a layer of frost. That wasn't the end of it. At this moment, the swift shadow appeared again. Han Fei only saw a bloody mouth. In the next moment, an electric current flowed up the ice and electrocuted Han Fei. The high-voltage electricity instantly shattered the ice and rushed into Han Fei's body. Even though Han Fei's body was strong, he couldn't bear it. He felt as if he had been struck by lightning. The electric current passed through his internal organs. Han Fei stiffened and fell straight to the surface of the water. At that moment, Han Fei finally saw the sea monster. Dragon eel, the demonic fish mixed with dragon blood, lived on dragon bones all year round. They were highly cold-resistant and had a tough body and powerful high-voltage electricity. Level 33 Strange 2064 points. Bone strengthening, beautifying and nourishing. Plop. Han Fei fell into the water, but before his body recovered from the paralysis, he felt a long tail lashing at him. Bang! The entire cave trembled. Han Fei was slapped dozens of meters away in the water. After spinning in the water for an unknown number of times, he finally stabilized himself. His stiff body also returned to normal after this strike. Such power! Han Fei's mouth and nose were bleeding and he was horrified. This was too strong. Even with the Starlight Immortal body, he was still injured in one move. How was he supposed to fight this kind of strength? This time, Han Fei didn't let Little Black bite him. If this guy released electricity, would Little Black be able to withstand it? The black shadow was as fast as lightning, whistling over once again. Even though Han Fei dodged in a weird way, he still failed to dodge and was knocked away by the dragon eel again. Rip! The electric current surged again, and Han Fei's body stiffened again. Han Fei realized something, and the next moment, he flew up again. This time, not only was he sent flying, but he also crashed into the rock stratum above his head, rolling all the way. A mouthful of blood spurted out, and Han Fei's face became extremely ugly. This was the first time he had encountered such a strong opponent. Compared with the blow he suffered in the Blue Sea Arena, this was the first time he had been so seriously injured since he activated the Shilian Immortal body. Han Fei immediately drew out his double knife. At the moment when the dragon eel rushed at him, he also tried his best. He activated the spiritual energy protective cover, and the 7 chains entangled him at the same time. Bam! Han Fei was directly knocked away by the dragon eel. Before he could stab the knives in his hands, the dragon eel swam past him from the side. But fortunately 2 chains were locked on the dragon eel. Rip! The electric current was still surging, but Han Fei gritted his teeth and refused to let go even though his 7 apertures were bleeding. The electric current couldn't kill him. Since he was struck by lightning last time, he had known that. But because of this, Han Fei was badly thrown by the dragon eel. One moment, he was whipped against the rock wall, the next moment, he smashed the coral on the ground, and the next moment, he was electrocuted. The spiritual energy protective cover on Han Fei's body was shattered again and again. He could even feel that the 9-tailed mantis shrimp was running out of strength. After being beaten for about 5 minutes, Han Fei's face was pale. He was electrocuted dozens of times, vomited 7 or 8 mouthfuls of blood, and his skin was torn by the dragon eel. Fuse. Han Fei chose to fuse. Although he knew that the effect of fusion was not great, and the Yin-Yang Divine Eye could only see the opponent's attack path and slow down the opponent's attack speed in his eyes. However, this dragon eel was discharging electricity, and it was useless to dodge it. He couldn't dodge it at all. However, the moment Han Fei became bloodthirsty, his defense and attack power were slightly stronger. While the dragon eel was not discharging electricity at this moment, he also entangled it with the remaining chains. Pulling the chains violently, Han Fei finally caught the dragon eel in the electric shock. Hum! The moment Han Fei caught the dragon eel, his whole body trembled. He was so shocked by the electric shock that his soul almost flew out of his body. Suck me! Han Fei felt that he couldn't bear it any longer. If he didn't kill this dragon eel, he would be killed. Fortunately, the demon purification pot was shining at this moment as if it was breathing. The electric current on the dragon eel began to weaken, and its speed began to slow down. Although it was still crashing crazily with Han Fei, its strength was obviously much weaker. It can even resist the spiritual energy absorption of the demon purification pot? Han Fei clearly felt that the spiritual energy of this dragon eel had been greatly reduced, but its strength was reduced by about half. Hiss! Collect the demon. Bam! Han Fei was thrown against the rock wall by the tail. He failed to collect the demon for the first time. Han Fei stabbed hard with his double knives, but he couldn't cut in much. This dragon eel's body was too strong. Continue to suck. I'll suck you to death, you bastard. If you don't want to die, be a good boy and get into the gourd. Collect the demon. He and the beast were in a stalemate for more than 5 minutes. Finally, the dragon eel was sucked into the gourd when its spiritual energy was almost exhausted. The moment the dragon eel was sucked into the gourd, Han Fei lay on the bottom of the water. There were dozens of wounds all over his body, and his bones seemed to be broken. He felt that his body had been destroyed. After struggling for a long time, Han Fei finally found the entrance of the cave. He floated out, took a deep breath, and then sat cross-legged on the bottom of the water. No, I'm going to make a breakthrough. Otherwise, how can I continue to explore if I'm too seriously injured? Digging dozens of low-quality spiritual stones from the dragon head, Han Fei sat cross-legged, cast the divine healing technique on himself, and chose to make a breakthrough. At that moment, a large amount of spiritual energy surged. In half an hour, more than 30 low-quality spiritual stones were broken, but this was far from enough. Han Fei's injuries were getting better, and the spiritual energy in his body was surging. After a while, nearly 50 spiritual stones around him were broken again. Han Fei's injuries were healed, his internal organs were stabilized, and spiritual energy was surging in his meridians, which were a little hot. Gotcha! In an instant, Han Fei's momentum soared, his strength increased significantly, and his realm soared. After all the spiritual stones in front of him were broken, Han Fei slowly stopped absorbing spiritual energy. He was a little shocked. He didn't know whether it was because he was too seriously injured or because he broke through 3 levels in a row, but this time he consumed a lot of spiritual energy. 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy supported him to advance from a junior peak-level Great Fishing Master to an intermediate Great Fishing Master. Han Fei was sure that others cultivated hard every day and guided spiritual energy into their bodies. After a long time, it might take 70,000 to 80,000 points of spiritual energy to make a breakthrough. But 3 small levels only required 300,000 to 400,000 points of spiritual energy, but now it had more than doubled. How could he continue to make breakthroughs in the future? He looked at the data. Owner Han Fei, level greater than 26, intermediate Great Fishing Master, spiritual energy greater than 6,246, 2,499, spiritual heritage level 4, low-quality spiritual beast, twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish weapon, purple bamboo rod major gongfa, water vein technique, volume 3 avoid fishing few. His upper limit of spiritual energy increased by 400 points. This meant that his comprehensive strength had improved a lot. What made Han Fei a little distressed was that he only had 6,246 points of spiritual energy left, which was not enough for a battle. For example, the battle with the dragon eel this time consumed more than 6,000 points of spiritual energy. He didn't know how many times his spiritual energy protective cover had been smashed. Han Fei immediately looked at the dragon head. I hope you don't let me down. Chapter 190. When Han Fei touched the skull of the blue sea wandering dragon with one hand, his hand began to freeze, and he quickly let go. Wow! A bone that could be used to make spiritual weapons was really extraordinary. Even if this thing was made into a weapon, could it be used by him? Han Fei forcibly took the dragon head into Forge the Universe. Suddenly, the crops in Forge the Universe were all frozen into dregs. The white fishing boat was covered with a layer of frost. Han Fei rubbed his head. The crops were planted in vain. However, such a big head was enough for him to refine 1,000 knives. It was not a loss at all, but a big profit. After taking away the dragon head, Han Fei crouched at the bottom of the water, rummaging through the coral mud, and finally found 12 low-quality spiritual stones. In this way, including the ones he had just absorbed, he had obtained nearly 60 to 70 low-grade spirit stones from the dragon head. No. Now my spiritual energy is running out. 12 are not enough. Rumble, Han Fei suddenly trembled. He hurriedly jumped out of the water, only to see a heat wave penetrating the hole that he hadn't entered in time. Han Fei was stunned. This passageway was not short. The flames had reached so deep. What had happened on the other side? Having no time to think, Han Fei immediately ran over. Needless to say, it must be Lu Renquang and the other three who made the noise. Because of the impact of the flames, the lamp slot in this tunnel was ignited. Han Fei sped up and ran wildly, but he encountered nothing. After running for nearly 2 kilometers, Han Fei saw light. When Han Fei jumped out of the hole, his vision suddenly became clear. This was a huge cave, more than 10 times larger than the previous small cave. In the cave, half of the flames were filled. Han Fei finally understood why it was called the Fire Cloud Cave. It turned out that this was the key to the problem. In the thick flames, there seemed to be something roaring. And Xia Shaochan was sticking to the rock wall at this moment, vomiting blood. Zhang Xuanyu knelt on one knee, holding a stick with one hand, while wiping the blood. Luo Xiaobai seemed to have met her nemesis. She was wrapping herself with vines, and at the same time, a dragon bone was inserted in front of her. As for Lu Renquang, he was struggling to resist the flames with 7 or 8 big shields in front of him. Swish! Han Fei immediately threw out the dragon bone that he had picked up before. As soon as the dragon bone appeared, the flames immediately retreated 30 meters. Lu Renquang looked back and was overjoyed. Han Fei, you're not dead? Zhang Xuanyu was overjoyed. Fei! Hurry up, there is a monster in the fire, a corpse. Xia Shaochan hurriedly said, Be careful, it may be the bones of that dragon slayer. Han Fei was stunned. What's going on? The dragon slayer? That guy was so fierce that he killed the blue sea wandering dragon with one finger. How could he beat him? Luo Fei immediately sent a few pillars of spiritual energy into their bodies. Han Fei immediately came back to his senses and injected a few pillars of spiritual energy into their bodies. The few of them immediately heaved a sigh of relief, feeling slightly better. However, before Han Fei went up to help, he saw an emaciated corpse walking out of the flames and punching Zhang Xuanyu. Bam! With a loud explosion, the rod in Zhang Xuanyu's hand was directly bent, and his whole body was blasted away like a cannonball. Dragon, dragon, dragon of the Zhang to fly. The Fei of the Zhang of the dragon with dragon. The demon purification pot didn't show anything, as if it couldn't recognize human beings. Han Fei took a deep breath. He was an intermediate great fishing master, but he couldn't even fight a skeleton. Immediately, he took out the purple bamboo rod and smashed it with all his strength. Clang kacha! The sound wave instantly filled the whole cave, and Han Fei was blown away by the punch. The purple bamboo rod in his hand was broken, and the skeleton was smashed dozens of meters away, rolling on the ground. Han Fei was shocked. What the hell is this? How can it be so strong? Xia Shaochan was anxious. Be careful. Although it has become a skeleton, it is definitely as strong as an advanced dangling fisher. Otherwise, how could we be beaten like this? Luo Xiaobai said, One dragon bone can protect one person at most. Find a way to lead this guy away from here. As long as we find more dragon bones, we can suppress it. Han Fei was helpless. Then why don't you keep fighting and I'll go find the dragon bones? Lu Renquang and Luo Xiaobai threw the dragon bones in front of them to Han Fei and shouted, You fight. We'll go find the dragon bones. Han Fei. Xia Shaochan flashed away. Your body is the strongest. Who else can do it if not you? Have you made a breakthrough? Han Fei could tell by his weight whether he had made a breakthrough or not. At this moment, Han Fei was thinner than before. It was estimated that after he became a peak-level great fishing master, he would become thin again. But the others were not in the mood to pay attention to this now. Before the breakthrough, Han Fei's body was extremely strong. Now that he had made a breakthrough, he should be stronger. In fact, Han Fei's body did become stronger, but not as much as he imagined. After all, the indestructible body that had been tempered by lightning last time couldn't make a breakthrough easily. The enhancement this time was just a natural enhancement from a junior great fishing master to an intermediate great fishing master. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, Fei, in ancient times, there were hidden fishers who went into the sea to slay dragons. Now you are a dragon slayer with 2 dragon bones. You are the most legendary figure in the 4th Academy this year. Come on. The door is behind this guy. Han Fei. Han Fei looked at the 2 dragon bones in front of him and his face turned green. These people had no sense of loyalty. They slipped away as soon as he arrived. Thanks to the battle with the dragon eel just now, he had made a breakthrough. Otherwise, how could he defeat this skeleton in front of him? Han Fei reluctantly picked up the dragon bones, exerted strength under his feet, and rushed into the flames in an instant. Wherever he passed, the flames retreated. This was the power of the blue sea wandering dragon bones. Roar, the skeleton of the strong master had subconsciously avoided the dragon bones. But Han Fei's close combat immediately enraged him. For a time, flames gathered and surged towards Han Fei. At that moment, Han Fei felt that he was almost roasted by the rolling heat waves. On the other side, Xia Xiaochan and the other 3 quickly slipped into the cave behind the skeleton of the strong master. Han Fei shouted, Hurry up and get some dragon bones back. I can't do it alone. Xia Xiaochan's voice echoed in the cave. Hold on for half an hour. Han Fei wanted to vomit blood. Half an hour? Fight with this thing for half an hour? However, after a while, when there was no more sound in the cave, Han Fei immediately took out his dragon head. As soon as the dragon head came out, the flames in the whole cave suddenly shrank. The skeleton also froze and seemed to be a little scared. Attach. Han Fei took out the chains and tried to swing the dragon head with all his strength. However, this thing was a bit heavy, and the dragon head would freeze as soon as it was pulled, so it was too slow to hit anyone. F***ck, the dragon head is here. Come on, hit me. Han Fei stopped pulling the dragon head and waved the 2 dragon bones like 2 big clubs. Clang, clang, clang. The skeleton seemed to be completely suppressed and completely lost the power to break the purple bamboo rod with a punch just now. Han Fei also took the opportunity to knock it dozens of times. Oh no, the skeleton of this strong master is too hard. I can't break it. Han Fei stood next to the dragon head and didn't move. He was almost turned into an ice sculpture. Fortunately, the skeleton didn't attack him. The 2 sides were in a stalemate. Han Fei scratched his head. He couldn't hit the dragon head, and neither could the dragon bones. Should he run first? Han Fei dragged the dragon head to the entrance of the cave. The skeleton avoided to the other side. Then, Han Fei stood in front of the cave. After half an hour, there was no movement in the cave at all. Han Fei shouted, Are you back? No response? He immediately withdrew the dragon head. At the moment the dragon head disappeared, the skeleton seemed to be revived. With a roar, it rushed at Han Fei. Han Fei ran and said, Brother Bone, don't chase me. I'm not your wife. Why are you chasing me? The strong skeleton ran into the cave with Han Fei, one in front and one behind, sprinting crazily. After a while, Han Fei rushed into another cave. As soon as he stepped in, he saw the remains of the Buddha's tentacles and the footprints of several people on the ground. It seemed that Lu Renquang and the other 3 had broken through here. Han Fei continued to run, and the flames came again. 1 cave, 2 caves, Han Fei was speechless and shouted back, Brother Bone, you are good at digging holes, right? Do you have to dig so many holes? When Han Fei ran into the 4th tunnel, Xia Xiaochan and the others came up to him. Suddenly, they stopped and stared at each other. Xia Xiaochan asked, Why are you here? Luo Xiaobai looked behind Han Fei. Turn around and run. Chapter 191. Zhang Xuanyu ran back and shouted, Fei, didn't I tell you to hold on? Han Fei said angrily, Hold on? Do you think I can beat him? Han Fei was struggling to hold the double dragon bones, and couldn't swing the dragon head. What could he do? I'm having a headache too. Maybe I can try the water-stirring seal later. In the small hole, Luo Xiaobai shouted, spread out. Han Fei, give me a dragon bone. Han Fei threw the dragon bone to Luo Xiaobai, and it was caught by a vine. Seeing that the others all had dragon bones, he was relieved. Brother Bone is afraid of the cold. Don't use other weapons. Just hit him with the dragon bone. Before long, the skeletons had arrived. As soon as he came in, he was slightly stunned, as if he felt the coldness of this place. Han Fei shouted, go! Hammer him! Scar of War Shadows. With that said, Han Fei took the lead and smashed the dragon bone at them with all his might. Bam! The corpse turned around and punched Han Fei, forcing him to take 5 steps back. The others slightly changed their expressions. Were the 5 dragon bones not enough? Han Fei was still beaten back by a punch. Luo Xiaobai roared and wrapped the dragon bone in vines, knocking at the corpse. Luo Xiaobai shouted, let's go together. This corpse can only fight instinctively. Let's go together and see if we can suppress it. Xia Xiaochan nodded. Although it's not in line with the role of a hunter, I agree. Zhang Xuanyu shouted to embolden himself, my stick is bent. Let's go. Lu Renquang shivered. Kill him. The 5 of them waved the blue sea wandering dragon bones and charged forward together. When the 5 dragon bones were gathered, the suppression force appeared. The ice-cold dragon bones finally extinguished the flames on the expert's corpse, revealing his body. Everyone saw that there was a crimson stone at the heart of the corpse. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, hit the stone out. This must be the source of his power. Supreme Stab. Using the dragon bone as a dagger, Xia Xiaochan sped up and stabbed the back of the corpse, making it stagger. But the stone was still firmly stuck inside. Bind. The fire went out and Luo Xiaobai's vines finally came in handy. At this moment, it was madly wrapping around the skeleton. Lu Renquang took out a black glove from the armor box. He put on his glove and grabbed the stone. Howl! Lu Renquang suddenly retracted his hand, and the black glove on his hand had been burned with a big hole, and his whole hand was covered with blisters. Lu Renquang shivered and almost cried. You can't touch it. Luckily I reacted quickly, or else my hand would have been crippled. Zhang Xuanyu was speechless. Then what should we do? It's not like we can separate. Once we're separated, the flames on his body will come out, and it'll take a lot of effort. Xia Xiaochan kicked the bones that were tied up by vines and said, if only we could make a box out of these dragon bones. Everyone immediately looked at Xia Xiaochan. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Good idea, but we don't have any refiners here. Seeing this, Han Fei couldn't help but say leisurely, actually, I know a little bit about refining. Everyone. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. Don't stare at me. However, I also need a fire. Remember the fire at the door when we just came in? I may need to go there. Xia Xiaochan looked at him weirdly. Han Fei, what else are you hiding? Just tell me. I really don't. I used to think that buying weapons was too expensive, so I taught myself a little bit. Everyone chuckled. You want to learn refining by yourself? Do you mean that none of us are geniuses, but you are? Luo Xiaobai shouted, hurry up. We'll hold on for half an hour. Lu Renquang's eyes flickered. Han Fei, I broke a lot of weapons this time. Han Fei ran away with a bone. Before he ran, he saw the flames on the surface of this skeleton again. They couldn't hold on for too long. Han Fei ran through a tunnel and looked back. Who would really go to the furnace? He immediately stretched out his hand, and the calabash appeared, and the dragon bones were directly sucked in. The demon purification pot's refining speed was not slow. However, Han Fei expected that a box would consume a lot of spiritual energy. But as soon as the thought flashed through his mind, 20,000 points of spiritual energy were gone, and 2 low-quality spiritual stones were broken. Wow! So expensive? Han Fei shivered. It costs 20,000 points of spiritual energy to refine a box? It was the first time in his life that he refined a spiritual weapon, and he refined a box. Then how long would it take to refine all the knives of the million knife art? Wouldn't it cost hundreds of millions of points of spiritual energy? Damn it! A small piece of the dragon bone was used, and the remaining dragon bone was spat out. Han Fei waited for half an hour before he slowly walked into the tunnel. When Han Fei came in again, he found that Lu Renkuang and the others were jumping and knocking the skeleton with the dragon bones. Luo Xiaobai was overjoyed to see Han Fei. "Did you succeed?" "Pooh!" Han Fei immediately pretended to vomit blood and said palely, "I was almost killed. This dragon bone box used up all the spiritual energy in my body, and it even cost me a spiritual fruit." As he spoke, Han Fei threw the dragon bone box over. No one doubted him. Although they didn't know the level of the blue sea wandering dragon bone, they had a guess. It wouldn't be easy for Han Fei to refine it. Luo Xiaobai immediately shouted, "Give me the rest of the dragon bones too." Han Fei threw the dragon bones out, and Lu Renkuang grabbed the dragon bones and extinguished the flames on the skeleton again. Luo Xiaobai took the opportunity to stick the box in the skeleton's chest. Finally, the red stone was sealed. Without the stone, the skeleton no longer moved and directly shattered into pieces. Everyone looked at each other in shock. Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. "It died so easily?" Xia Shaochan said, "It's dead." Lu Renkuang hurriedly threw the box to Han Fei. "Throw it into the sea swallowing seashell. I don't want to hold this thing." Han Fei touched the box and it disappeared. Then he stared at Lu Renkuang and asked, "Where were you just now?" Lu Renkuang said innocently, "How would I know? I was wondering where you were. You were fighting and then you disappeared. I searched for you for a long time but couldn't find you. Then, I accidentally walked into a cave and found a mutant hermit crab. I almost ran into it and killed myself." Luo Xiaobai said solemnly, "We only chased after you when we found that you were not moving. However, we only found Lu Renkuang. Where did you go?" Han Fei snorted. "I met a mutant human-faced crab. I was in an illusion the whole time. After I killed it, I found that you were all gone." Zhang Xuanyu chuckled. "That's good. This is a great opportunity. The blue sea wandering dragon bone is not ordinary. Fei Fei, when the time comes, forge a few decent spirit artifacts for us." "Pooh!" Han Fei kicked Zhang Xuanyu. "Damn it! A box almost cost me my life. You want me to build a spiritual weapon for you?" Zhang Xuanyu quickly dodged. "I'm just kidding." Xia Shaochan stared at the dragon bone in her hand for a long time and said slowly, "It seems that the tailbone is still missing." "Tailbone?" Everyone looked at Xia Shaochan. Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes and said, "Nonsense, a dragon? Doesn't it have a tail? What we are holding now are all sections of the torso, so there must be a tailbone, right?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Yes, not only the tailbone, but also the dragon head." Everyone trembled. Zhang Xuanyu quickly waved his hand. "Forget it, forget it. Forget about the dragon head. A dragon bone can create a mutant creature comparable to a dangling fisher." "What kind of monster can the dragon head be?" Lu Renkuang nodded. "I agree. I can still look for the tailbone, but I won't look for the dragon head. It's scary." Han Fei frowned. He couldn't say that the dragon head had been put away, could he? He quickly changed the topic. "Where did you find the skeleton of this strong master?" Xia Shaochan snorted. "It ran out by itself. I don't know which hole it came out from. Anyway, this fire cloud cave is full of holes. However, this strong master is dead, so we should be able to continue exploring." Han Fei quickly said, "Let's take a rest first. Let me tell you, a dragon's tail is not much worse than a dragon's head. As the saying goes, a dragon breathes dragon breath from its mouth, and its tail is extremely powerful. Let's be careful." Xia Shaochan scoffed. "I haven't seen a dragon yet, so I don't know what a dragon head looks like." Han Fei thought for a moment. The head he got had no horns and was quite ugly. He wondered if this blue sea wandering dragon was a real dragon. After a moment, Zhang Xuanyu said excitedly, "Can we go now?" Han Fei said expectantly, "Yes." Chapter 192. According to their route, they were only short of the dragon's tail. After all, the dragon's head had already been taken by them. This time, the tunnel was very long and unexpectedly, there were no special creatures sneaking up on them. Luo Xiaobai frowned. "Don't you feel strange?" Xia Xiaochan nodded. "Yes, the spiritual energy has become denser." Lu Renquang shivered. "It's a bit cold." Han Fei was also thinking about this question along the way. He was wondering, why are there so many holes? Why is the fire cloud cave so deep? Suddenly Han Fei was stunned. Why is the dragon's head in front? What's the purpose? Is it possible that the expert wants to turn the dragon into a dragon after it dies? Hiss. Dragon vein. Han Fei was shocked and hurriedly said, "Dragon vein. Judging from the arrangement of these dragon bones, we should be walking on a dragon vein." Everyone was curious. "What is a dragon vein?" Han Fei scoffed. "Stupid. After a dragon dies, it uses the terrain to create a dragon-shaped earth vein. The land of a dragon vein is suitable for raising corpses. Damn, let's go forward, hurry up." Han Fei seemed to think of something and suddenly sprinted forward. Although the others didn't understand, they quickly followed him. After running for only a few kilometers, a huge cave appeared, larger than all the previous caves. However, at this moment, everyone suddenly stopped at the entrance of the cave, not even daring to breathe loudly. Xia Xiaochan poked Han Fei and asked telepathically, "Why is there a person sitting there?" Han Fei swallowed and replied, "If my guess is correct, this is the real Dragon Slayer. The one just now was not him at all." Hiss, all of them subconsciously took half a step back. "Are you kidding us? The guy just now was already so awesome, but he was still not the Dragon Slayer?" However, everyone agreed without thinking about it, because in the center of this cave, there seemed to be a living person sitting there in a Shilian posture. This person's face was pale, and his skin and flesh were all there. There was no telling whether he was dead or alive. More importantly, this person's face was facing the entrance of their cave. "Gudu," Lu Renquang said to the others telepathically, "Let's run. This is a being who can kill a dragon with one finger. We can't even withstand one finger of his." Everyone wanted to retreat, but Han Fei didn't. The dragon's tail was placed 2 meters in front of the expert. Around the expert, there was a 5-meter wide ring-shaped pit. The pit was filled with nothing but spirit spring water. Han Fei's heart was pounding. The spiritual spring was more attractive to him than the dragon tail. Now that his spiritual energy was almost depleted, when would he become an advanced great fishing master? If he relied on himself, when would he be able to master the set of million knife art? But how much spirit spring was there in front of him? It was more than 10 million points. If he could get it, he would definitely be rich. Luo Xiaobai said telepathically, "Look, there's a door on the other side." Zhang Xuanyu asked, "Is it the exit?" Xia Xiaochan nodded. "It's possible that they've already reached the end. Logically speaking, there should be a way out. Otherwise, we would have to run to the furnace." Lu Renquang asked, "What if the door is not an exit?" Everyone was silent for a moment. What if the door wasn't the exit? Wouldn't he be cutting off his escape route? However, just as they were hesitating, a loud sound came from behind them. The cave was shaking and rocks fell down. "Not good, the back has collapsed." The 5 people's faces turned green. Why did the cave have to shake at this moment? When the cave shook, the expert sitting cross-legged in the center of the cave suddenly opened his eyes. Han Fei screamed, "Let's go. That door has become the last way out." Lu Renquang howled, "I told you not to look for it. Look, we're all going to be beaten to death this time." Luo Xiaobai said, "Let's go over before this expert recovers." The distance of hundreds of meters was covered in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, everyone rushed out. Lu Renkuang and Han Fei carried the door. Sure enough, just like the previous door, they just needed to lift it up. Xia Xiaochan and Luo Xiaobai quickly passed through the gap of the lifted door. Zhang Xuanyu followed closely. Lu Renkuang's face turned red. Use your strength. I can't get through. Han Fei said, I told you to lose weight, but you didn't listen. Now you know the pain when you're running for your life, don't you? Armor and shield. Lu Renkuang used his armor box in an instant. Several big shields were about to be propped up under the gap of the door, but in the next second Han Fei and Lu Renkuang were both stunned. They felt a chill on their backs, and they didn't know when a person was standing behind them. Han Fei shouted, F***CK, Zhang Xuanyu shouted from the other end, Come here, rumble. The stone door collapsed in an instant, hitting the ground with a muffled sound. At the same time, mystic stones fell from all directions. Not only this door, but another door was also blocked. At the same time, a fat body was kicked out from inside. The force was so fierce that Lu Renkuang rolled 7 or 8 times on the ground. Lu Renkuang's face changed drastically, and he ran to the door, shouting, Violent war body. At this moment, not only Lu Renkuang, but the others also turned pale and tried to lift the stone door with all their might. Unfortunately, they could only pull up a space of 3 inches before they couldn't move any further. Lu Renkuang's eyes were bloodshot, and he roared anxiously, Han Fei, you iron-head fish, have you ever been hit in the head by an iron-head fish? Han Fei, say something. Fei, say something. Don't leave us behind. Bam, an enormous force hit the door, and Lu Renkuang and the others were flung several meters away. Luo Xiaobai's face was pale. Not good, we're pressed by something. Lu Renkuang's voice was shivering. He roared with tears on his face, Lift it! Lift it! Lift it! Han Fei's face changed greatly. He held the dragon bone and stuck it to the wall behind him. Half a meter in front of him, the man looked at him with a blank expression. Gudu. Brother, let's talk nicely. We're all civilized people. Fighting is too rude. The man didn't respond but simply stared at the dragon bone in Han Fei's hand. Han Fei quickly extended the dragon bone. Senior, do you want it? I'll give it to you. Pa! Han Fei didn't even see how the man attacked, but the dragon bone in his hand was thrown away and hit the wall. Oh my God! Senior, let's be reasonable and not fight. Han Fei's back was covered in cold sweat. He was holding the water-stirring seal in his hand, wondering if he should seal this B****starred. But if the water-stirring seal couldn't hurt this guy, wouldn't he be doomed? Han Fei slightly moved aside. It was definitely not a pleasant thing to stand face to face with a dragon slayer. More importantly, Han Fei saw that the dragon slayer's face seemed to be aging. Is he turning into a corpse? Han Fei was lost for words. The treasure hunt turned into a graveyard. He wondered if this guy was dead or not. If he was alive, how many years had he lived? The dragon had turned into bones, but he didn't change at all. Kacha. Han Fei was slapped away and slapped directly into the spiritual spring. Han Fei was stunned by the slap. His ribs were broken, and his chest was badly mutilated. Han Fei was shocked by the man's strength. No, he's not too strong. Has this guy not fully recovered yet? Yes, the murals showed that this man was heavily wounded and dying. If he was dying, his strength must have been greatly reduced. Thinking of this, Han Fei thought of something. Could it be that the spiritual spring provided the source of his strength? I'll suck it all up. With a thought from Han Fei, more than half of the water in the pool was gone, and Forge the Universe was filled. The space of 60 square meters was filled with spiritual spring. Han Fei was shocked. How much spiritual spring was there? Master Calabash, suck it up. Forge the Universe, expand. Little black, little white. 9 tails. Come out and eat. The man looked at Han Fei gloomily and walked over step by step. Han Fei stretched out his hand, and the demon purification pot appeared in his palm. The dragon head takes up too much space. I'll throw it to make knives. Then a huge dragon head blocked in front of Han Fei. The moment the dragon head appeared, the man stopped. His face seemed to be full of anger. Immediately, the dragon head was sucked into the calabash. Han Fei shouted to the man, "Illusion, what you see is an illusion. That's not a dragon head, but a snake head." Chapter 193. At this moment, Han Fei saw that the man's skin was rapidly darkening, and spots even appeared on his face. His body was aging faster. Han Fei's eyes lit up. He guessed right. The rich spiritual energy here prevented the man's body from decaying. In fact, he was already dead. This was just a fake corpse. Ho! The moment the dragon head disappeared, the man took action. He punched with one hand. Han Fei's face changed drastically, and he hurriedly rushed to the other side, roaring. Attach. Fuse. Fury. Spiritual energy protective cover. Water-stirring seal technique. In an instant, Han Fei's strength skyrocketed. He was originally an intermediate great fishing master, but now he was as strong as a peak-level great fishing master. At the same time, the water-stirring seal appeared in the air. The huge phantom smashed at the man's fist. Rumble! The mountain shook violently and rubble fell. Outside the door, Lu Renquang was waiting anxiously. A terrible battle seemed to have broken out inside. Luo Xiaobai said calmly, "Zhang Xuanyu, Xiaochan, go out and find teacher." Xia Xiaochan frowned. "How long will it take? Han Fei can't hold on for that long." Luo Xiaobai added, "Since there is a fight inside, it means that Han Fei has other trump cards. Go, this is the only way to save him now." Without saying a word, Zhang Xuanyu rushed to the entrance of the cave with his rod. This road was extremely damp. There must be a way out. Inside the door, Han Fei was hit flying and his spiritual energy protective cover was instantly smashed. At the same time, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was injured and its attached state was cancelled. The state of fusion also collapsed instantly, and Little Black and Little White were slapped back to the sea of spirit rings. Han Fei also coughed up a mouthful of blood heavily. After this punch, the man seemed to have aged dozens of years at once. He was aging rapidly. Han Fei cast the divine healing technique on himself as if it were free, and at the same time, his body made a strange arc and pounced on the spiritual spring. He muttered, "Go, go, go, BM!" Han Fei was punched in the back and immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. He felt that his body was almost blown up. Forge the universe. The next moment, Han Fei disappeared from this huge cave. Forge the universe had been filled with the spiritual spring. Han Fei vomited several mouthfuls of blood as soon as he came in. There was a fist mark from his back to his front. He didn't know how many bones were broken. Motherf ***, why can't I come in instantly? Han Fei was rather annoyed. Forge the universe was a good place, but it was only a matter of seconds to put inanimate objects in. However, if a living person entered, including himself, there would be a trace of resistance. This resistance made it impossible for Han Fei to come in immediately. He needed some time. He was sure that if the guy outside knew this, he would never give him the slightest chance to enter Forge the Universe. At this moment, Forge the Universe was expanding at a slow speed. From the beginning until now, it hadn't even expanded half a meter. Han Fei quickly cast the divine healing technique on himself. After more than an hour, his injuries were finally healed. At this moment, Forge the Universe continued to expand by about 6 meters, and the water level of the spiritual spring had dropped. After a while, the spirit spring had been decreasing. The dozen daggers that appeared in front of Han Fei consumed nearly 500,000 points of spiritual energy. However, to Han Fei's great joy, they were all spiritual weapons. How much would it cost if it was sold in the Linglong Tower? Han Fei grabbed a random one and the data appeared. Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers forged from the bones of the Blue Sea Wandering Dragon. The blade contained extreme coldness. Once pierced by this blade, it could instantly freeze the enemy's blood vessels and meridians. Lower grade spiritual weapon. Note: due to the limited forging materials, it can be cast into a lower quality spiritual weapon at most. Han Fei took a deep breath. It seemed to be very strong. What did soul possession mean? Han Fei didn't understand. He had never touched spiritual weapons before, and this was the first time he had refined one. If it weren't for this massive amount of spiritual spring, he wouldn't have the capital to refine spiritual weapons. There was still a lot of spiritual spring in Forge the Universe. This time, Han Fei didn't hold back. Since I can't beat the guy outside, I'll suck up all your spiritual spring so that you can't replenish it. Let's see how arrogant you are. Coincidentally, his level 4, low-quality spiritual heritage didn't seem to reach the average progress of Lu Renquang and the others. Even Zhang Xuanyu had a level 6 spiritual heritage, and he was just a level 4, low-quality one. He really had to continue to improve. Upgrade. Suddenly, Han Fei's body seemed to become a bottomless pit, and a large amount of spiritual spring poured into it. When his level 3 spiritual heritage broke through to level 4, Han Fei didn't consume any spiritual energy, but was smashed by lightning. Now he took the initiative to break through, and the spiritual energy consumed was far more than the original 200,000 points. At this moment, each minor level required 500,000 points of spiritual energy. After a long time, when Han Fei consumed 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy and upgraded his spiritual heritage to level 4, high quality, the upgrade sign disappeared. Owner Han Fei level greater than 26, intermediate great fishing master, spiritual energy greater than 122,561, 2499, spiritual heritage level 4, high-quality spiritual beast, twin yin-yang spirit swallowing fish weapon Nun Major Gongfa, water vein technique, volume 3 of Void Fishing. After reading the data, Han Fei grinned with joy. His spiritual heritage was probably affected and couldn't be upgraded anymore. But his spiritual energy reserve increased. When Han Fei opened his eyes, there were already more than 40 Blue Sea Wandering Dragon daggers floating in front of him. What shocked him was that the spiritual spring that had filled Forge the Universe was only 1 meter deep at this moment. Of course, this was also related to the expansion of Forge the Universe. At this moment, Forge the Universe had expanded to a radius of 100 meters, and it was still expanding. Han Fei said, "Stop expanding." Han Fei was a bit annoyed. He thought that the spiritual spring that filled Forge the Universe could last for a long time. But how long had it been? Did it even have 6 hours? Han Fei calculated in his heart. It cost him 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy to upgrade his spiritual heritage, nearly 2,000,000 points of spiritual weapons, and nearly 400,000 points of spiritual energy in Forge the Universe, plus the spiritual energy stored in his body and absorbed by the demon purification pot. Han Fei gasped. 4 or 5 million points of spiritual energy were gone just like that. Han Fei was speechless. Everything stopped. He didn't need to continue to consume the spiritual spring. He had to find a chance to go out and store the rest of the spiritual spring. However, God knew if the guy outside had become a mummy by now. To be on the safe side, Han Fei began to activate the million knife art. He thought that it would take him at least a year or even 2 years to get enough resources to build a knife array, but he didn't expect the accident to come so soon. Of course, before he activated the knife array, he had to let the spiritual weapon recognize him as its master first. The water-stirring seal was not a spiritual weapon, so it still needed to be recognized by blood. As a spiritual weapon, it was inevitable. Han Fei grabbed a knife and rubbed it in his palm. Although there was a slight obstruction, his skin was still easily cut. This made Han Fei immediately think of something. Before, he had never fought with people who used spiritual weapons, so he didn't know how powerful spiritual weapons were. But now he knew. No matter how strong his body was, he still couldn't resist it. Similar to the water-stirring seal, after a spiritual weapon recognized its master, it could be stored in the body at any time. But Han Fei didn't know where it was stored. Anyway, his body was strong and he didn't feel the slightest discomfort. After a while, Han Fei collected all the 50 blue sea wandering dragon daggers into his body. Han Fei tried it. When the 50 daggers flew out at the same time, they all fell to the ground with a clatter. Only 5 or 6 of them could still fly. Han Fei frowned. What's the meaning of this? Is this kind of gong fa so difficult to practice? 2 hours later, Han Fei could control 10 daggers at the same time. He stopped practicing. He seemed to have encountered a bottleneck. It seemed to consume a bit of mental power, that was, spiritual power, and he couldn't be distracted. It's time to go out. Inside the cave, the young man who had no enemies had now become middle-aged. The spiritual spring was extracted, making his body shrink. Swish! Han Fei appeared and stood where he had just disappeared. And 3 meters away from him, the man didn't move. Damn! Han Fei immediately flew to the spiritual spring. Come back! The remaining less than half of the spring disappeared in the blink of an eye. Oh! The man behind him chased up and punched again, shaking the cave. Han Fei chuckled. He quickly rushed to the dragon bone that was stuck in the wall and pulled it out. At the same time, 10 blue sea wandering dragon daggers appeared beside him. Swish, 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 the daggers broke through the air, and the power of spiritual weapons suddenly appeared. Although they were knocked away by the man's fists, the daggers directly froze his arms. Of course, the ice seemed to be nothing to him, and he shattered it with a wave of his hand. The blue sea wandering dragon daggers flew all over the sky, chasing after the man and slashing crazily. Unfortunately, even spiritual weapons couldn't break this man's defense. Han Fei shouted as he ran, "Bro! Stop fighting. You've lost your IQ. Brother! Let's each take a step back, okay? Let me go out and you can continue to sit here." Chapter 194. If this man could speak, he would have been infuriated by Han Fei. Did you take away all my spiritual spring? What the hell am I supposed to do? Han Fei was not familiar with the million-knife art. From time to time, some knives would fall to the ground, but this didn't affect him. The chill of the knives did affect the man, giving Han Fei some time to find a way out. The nine-tailed mantis shrimp was released. Han Fei shouted, "Nine-tailed mantis shrimp, dig a hole for me. Dig out those mystic stones." The nine-tailed mantis shrimp dug a hole and Han Fei ran fast. Even with the blue sea wandering dragon daggers blocking the man, the latter was still very fast and almost hit Han Fei several times. About half an hour later, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp had just crushed a mystic stone. With a loud bang, the door was blasted away from the outside. By the way, the nine-tailed mantis shrimp was also blasted away, dumbfounded. Han Fei took back the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and looked at the door while running. "Han Fei, I knew you wouldn't die. Come here." Lu Renquang raised his hands and greeted him, his eyes swollen. Xia Shaochan also jumped and waved her hand. "Han Fei, get out of the way." With a thought, Han Fei stepped on the rock wall and dodged the man's attack by a hair's breadth. At the same time, the blue sea wandering dragon daggers flowed into Han Fei's hand like water and then merged into his body. At the door, Wenren Yu, Zhang Xuanyu, and Luo Xiaobai all breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Wenren Yu shouted, "Han Fei, get out of the way! Sword slash!" As Wenren Yu shouted, countless grass-green leaves appeared out of thin air in all directions. But it was these leaves that cut the void, leaving countless white marks in the air. Clang, clang, clanged in the blink of an eye, the man was slashed more than 100 times. "Ho!" The man waved his fist fiercely, and a ripple could be seen breaking through the air. Wenren Yu sneered, "Dead is dead. Who do you think you are, trying to defy the heavens and change your fate? Wenren Yu walked forward gracefully. Behind her and under her feet, thousands of leaves turned into swords and slashed the ripple directly. Not only that, in the blink of an eye, it was as if thousands of swords had stabbed into the man's body, causing him to retreat step by step. His skin was cut open all over his body, but not a single drop of blood flowed out. Roar! Noisy! Sunset sword slash! Wenren Yu stomped her foot, and a field of red sword grass appeared in front of her. As soon as the leaf appeared, the mountain trembled and the surrounding spiritual energy was sucked dry. Xiao! Rumble! Under Han Fei's shocked gaze, the man's chest was torn open, and all his internal organs were cut into pieces. Han Fei subconsciously scratched his head. Isn't this too fierce? The man was beaten to the point where he couldn't even fight back. In the blink of an eye, he was covered with cuts and bruises. Is this the strength of our school's teachers? Wasn't this a little too much? Sword grass like on, at this moment, a lot of sword grass grew out of the man's body. As Wenren Yu clenched her fist, the man's body exploded with a bang, and a large hole appeared in his chest. The huge impact forced them to take 5 or 6 steps back. Seeing that the man was killed by Wenren Yu, Zhang Xuanyu and the others hurried forward. Feifei, not bad. How did you survive? His eyes bloodshot, Lurenquang roared at Han Fei. Han Fei, do you really think you're invincible? How dare you kick me out? Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei weirdly. How did you survive? Luo Xiaobai said, huh? The spiritual spring is gone. Han Fei said, it's a long story. I'll explain it to you later. I think this place is about to collapse. Wenren Yu suddenly said, he's not dead yet. The Renda crowd was shocked. They looked at the pile of rocks and saw that there was indeed a hand struggling in there. Han Fei asked in shock, what is this thing exactly? It's still not dead? Wenren Yu said, he refined himself into an undead creature, but he didn't succeed. You go first. I'll catch up later. Luo Xiaobai pulled Han Fei and walked out. This expedition was too risky. They thought that the treasures in the level 2 fishery wouldn't be too scary, but what they encountered almost killed them. A moment later, on the fishing boat on the surface of the sea, Wenren Yu stood on the bow of the boat with an awful face. You're just a bunch of baichi. You knew that there were dragon bones there, but you still dared to come to the end. A treasure trove of such a level is beyond your ability, do you know that? Fortunately, this fire cloud cave is built in the level 2 fishery. If it were in the level 3 fishery, any mutant creature in it would have been enough to make you suffer. The more dangerous ones might have killed you. Luo Xiaobai said in embarrassment, Master, we were wrong. Han Fei asked, Master, why are you here? Wenren Yu scoffed. To protect you, of course. I thought that you were just out to catch exotic creatures, but you didn't come back after hours. I went to look for you, but you were nowhere to be found. If Xiaochan hadn't broken through the earth veins with the giant arowana, I wouldn't have been able to find you. You would have been dead for sure. Han Fei smiled awkwardly. Master, how strong was that man? I wouldn't have survived until now if he didn't only have his instinctive consciousness. Wenren Yu said indifferently, what kind of strength can an undying being that's neither dead nor alive have? But his physical strength is still at the level of a beginner hidden fisher. Then Wenren Yu looked at Han Fei as if she wanted to see a flower in his eyes. How did Han Fei survive? The others also looked at Han Fei. Not to mention the physical strength of a hidden fisher, they couldn't even resist a hanging fisher. Han Fei's body was strong enough to resist a dangling fisher, but a hidden fisher, Han Fei said, don't think too much. In fact, for a while, he blasted the channel out again. Wenren Yu looked at Han Fei. Did you find the dragon head? Han Fei wanted to deny it, but on second thought, he seemed to have been seen through, so he could only nod. I was lucky. I found the dragon head and encountered a mutant dragon eel. Wenren Yu nodded. Okay, everyone has their own opportunities. Don't talk about it if you don't want to. However, next time you encounter an unknown treasure trove, don't take the risk of entering it. At least tell me. Han Fei nodded. Of course. Although the dragon head was exposed, Wenren Yu didn't ask again, and he was relieved. This matter couldn't stand the investigation. Besides, the dragon head was not complete now. 50 blue sea wandering dragon daggers had been refined. If refining was involved, it would be even more troublesome. After this adventure, Han Fei's pride was gone. A great fishing master was too weak. Even if he used all his trump cards, he was still no match for a punch. This was just the physical strength of a hidden fisher, not to mention Wenren Yu, who appeared later. With a flip of her hand, a hidden fisher was blown up. Such a powerful teacher had actually appeared in an academy in the town. Han Fei took a deep breath. The fourth academy might be stronger than he thought. Wenren Yu changed the topic and then asked, I already know how your research on spiritual beasts is going. But I asked you to study the true meaning of fishing. How is your research going? Lu Renquang muttered, Teacher, I really don't understand the true meaning. Zhang Xuanyu said bitterly, Teacher, I think treasure hunting is the true meaning. Smack. Wenren Yu knocked Zhang Xuanyu's head with a fishing rod. Is there such a treasure today? Han Fei actually wanted to say the same thing, but seeing that Zhang Xuanyu was beaten up, he just shut up. Xia Xiaochan blinked. Teacher, why don't you demonstrate it? It's a bit difficult for us to comprehend it ourselves. Han Fei nodded. I agree. Luo Xiaobai didn't say anything, but she also looked at Wenren Yu expectantly. Wenren Yu heaved a long sigh and shook her head. There are countless caves and secret realms like this in the infinite ocean. You think you got great benefits, but in fact you didn't. You risked your life just to get some ordinary things. Do you really think the blue sea wandering dragon bone is so good? Let me tell you, this is not a dragon, but a python. It's far from being a flood dragon. And fishing is the eternal theme of the infinite ocean. Do you think fishing is not worth learning? With that, Wenren Yu drew her fishing rod and threw the hook far away in an instant. The spiritual energy in Wenren Yu's hands coiled around the fishing rod, as if she were throwing the hook to the sky. Wenren Yu said lightly, I didn't throw the hook far, hundreds of kilometers away, less than 1,000 kilometers. Wow, all of them were stunned. What did she mean? Less than 1,000 kilometers? You said it wasn't far? Then what's 100 meters when we fish? Are we just playing house? Wenren Yu shouted in a low voice. The hook swam in all directions with force, and you can travel 100 kilometers in the blink of an eye. You need to find what you want in this moment and then retract the rod. Hum, 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 the fishing line shone and began to constrict crazily, as if something had been caught. Han Fei was lost for words. What a show! Chapter 195. In the distant sky, everybody looked up, only to see that the fishing rod in Wenren Yu's hand was constricting at an unbelievable speed. Dozens of seconds later, a black spot appeared. When they got closer, they saw a red arachnida crab flying over. To be exact, it had been hooked back. Wenren Yu was still indifferent. The fishing hook needs to be part of your body, like your hands, fingers, or even eyes. Only in this way can you be a qualified dangling fisher. Sword grass appeared before Wenren Yu and slashed at the red spider crab the moment it approached. In the next moment, the spider crab was cut into halves mercilessly, and a cluster of red threads was hooked back. Wenren Yu looked at Han Fei. Your fishing rod is made of blood spider silk. Connect it. While everybody looked at her admiringly, Wenren Yu jumped to her boat calmly and said to everybody, Your trial is not over yet, but your main task is to improve your fishing skills. If you find another treasure trove, unless you think you can pass it, let the giant arowana roar and inform me. In the end, Wenren Yu looked at everybody. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Your fishing skills have nothing to do with how far you can cast the hook, but with your reflexes and fishing skills. Let's start with the easy ones. When Rinyu left, there was no telling where she went, but everybody knew that she was nearby. Luo Xiaobai said, "Cast as far as possible first." Everybody else cast their rods, and Han Fei caught the fishing line absent-mindedly. He seemed to know Wenrinyu's fishing skills. For example, in the process of moving, he could instantly hook the target. Wasn't that his hook kiss or flash hook? Just now, Wenrinyu's technique was similar to the winding snake technique, but it was much more sophisticated than hers. As for how to catch the prey without alerting anyone, the water vane technique seemed to be perfect. When the hook melted into water, it could catch the prey when they least expected it. The only thing that made Han Fei helpless was Wenrinyu's speed, which was too fast. How could she cast the hook 1,000 kilometers away in the blink of an eye? Was it some sort of mysterious fishing skill? Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes glittered. Was it a hook technique from the 4th level of void fishing? Han Fei wasn't sure, but he had reason to be suspicious. As he improved his void fishing, his fishing skills were getting better and better. Suddenly, a voice sounded in Han Fei's head. Lu Renquang secretly said, "You almost scared me to death just now. If you die, I'll feel guilty." Han Fei replied telepathically, "Don't curse me. Even if you die, I won't." Then, Xia Shaochan asked telepathically, "What about the spiritual energy inside? Just now, after teacher broke the door, I didn't see any spirit energy." Han Fei replied, "He was swallowed by the skeleton. Didn't you see that he grew from a handsome young man to a middle-aged man?" Xia Shaochan was stunned. Is that even possible? But where could such a large pool of spiritual qi go? Han Fei took it? Impossible. Even if the sea-swallowing seashells were filled, they wouldn't be able to hold much. Zhang Xuanyu asked via voice transmission, "Fei, have you mastered the million knife art? I just saw your blade control technique. It seems to be a bit of trash, but it can actually kill that guy. What kind of saber is that?" Han Fei was lost for words. "Nagging all day long. That's just an ordinary knife." Zhang Xuanyu obviously didn't believe it. Only Luo Xiaobai didn't talk to Han Fei. The others couldn't hold it in anymore. They kept asking, and Han Fei finally stopped talking to them through voice transmission. Han Fei looked at everyone gloomily. Instead of speaking telepathically, he simply said, "Fishing, stop chattering. You can talk to me when you're as good at fishing as I am." Xia Shaochan asked, "How good are your fishing skills?" Zhang Xuanyu nodded. Yes. Why don't you catch a spider crab too?" Lu Renquang nodded. "I'm not bragging. Why don't you try?" Han Fei pulled the connected fishing line and snorted. "Watch me. Let me show you how I can cross 1,000 meters in the blink of an eye." Han Fei blushed. Yes, Wenrin you could cross 1,000 kilometers in the blink of an eye, but he couldn't. Swish. The fishing hook was thrown out and fell into the water in everyone's sight. Han Fei's hands shook rhythmically as if he had a card up his sleeve. Zhang Xuanyu asked, Fei, can you do it? You're not as strong as teacher." Han Fei said, "Don't talk." In the water, Han Fei could clearly sense the creatures within 5 meters of the fishing hook. He couldn't see any further. Suddenly Han Fei smiled. "Let me catch a treasure-digging fish for you." Lu Renquang said, "No, let's not brag." Han Fei scoffed. "Are you kidding me? Watch carefully." In the water, the fishing hook and fishing line seemed to turn into seawater. In an instant, Flash Hook was activated and a wandering treasure-digging fish was hooked. Retrieve. Han Fei withdrew the fishing hook. In 2 seconds, the fishing hook broke out of the water, and a treasure-digging fish was hanging on it. Hiss! Everyone, including Luo Xiaobai, was dumbfounded. Is this for real? Was it luck or strength? Xia Xiaochan's eyes widened. "How did you do it?" Lu Renquang said, "I don't think so. Why don't you try catching another one?" Han Fei's face darkened. "Do you think I can conjure fish out of thin air? There happened to be a treasure-digging fish down there, so I caught it." Lu Renkuang asked. Then how did you know there was a treasure digging fish down there? Can you also have a second vision like Zhang Xuanyu? Han Fei said. Infuse your spiritual power into the fishing rod and feel it. You just need to feel the scene within a few meters of the fishing hook. Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. So it's a second vision? No, I have to attach myself to the fish to have a second vision. You're telling me that you attach yourself to the fishing hook? Luo Xiaobai asked. How do you infuse your spiritual power into the fishing rod? Luo Xiaobai trusted Han Fei. After all, no matter how strong Wenren Yu was, if she couldn't see underwater, how could she know what she was fishing for? Even Wenren Yu herself was very surprised at this moment. Did Han Fei learn it so quickly? Was it possible? Her reaction was similar to Lu Renkuang's. When she first learned this kind of perception, it took her more than half a year, almost a year. But Han Fei succeeded on his first try? Xia Xiaochan asked. Is that so? Xia Xiaochan seemed to have understood something. She cast the hook and used a completely different method from Han Fei. However, the fishing line was indeed sliding quickly. After a while, a yellow-boned fish was caught. As soon as the yellow-boned fish came up, it shot a mouthful of golden air at Xia Xiaochan, but she cut it with a knife. Xia Xiaochan said, No, I can only see the size of a palm at most. How can I see a few meters? In the distance, Wenren Yu staggered. Are these two people demons? Spiritual vision was completely different from real vision. It was a kind of detection and perception. But these two succeeded on their first try? Of course, except for Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, the other three people including Luo Xiaobai were all dumbfounded. Lu Renkuang asked, Well, isn't the spiritual power in your head? How can it go to the fishing hook? Xia Xiaochan said, It's just to concentrate and release it as spiritual energy. Zhang Xuanyu asked, Is it so simple? Let me try. After a while, Zhang Xuanyu pulled the fishing rod back and forth, looking confused. Wait, my spiritual power can leave my body. Why can't I see it? Luo Xiaobai was also trying. I can't see it either. Lu Renkuang said, Spiritual power is such a mysterious thing that he still doesn't know how to use it. Not to mention transmitting it to the fishing hook. Han Fei said quietly, Try it a few more times. Just as Xia Xiaochan said, throw them out like spiritual energy. Chapter 196. While fishing, Han Fei and the others drove the fishing boat back to the Level 2 fishery. The Level 2 fishery was very large, and there were many commendable weird places in it. Han Fei and the others spent 7 days circling the Level 2 fishery while recording the places that others didn't want to go to. Zhang Xuanyu wrote with a fish skin notebook. This is a coral reef with an average depth of 98 meters. It's said that there's a special fish here called the moon-watching eel. Because the water is shallow, there's plenty of light. These moon-watching eels can swallow the essence of the moon, but they're not kind. It's said that they're highly poisonous. Han Fei remembered the complete collection of spiritual plants in the infinite ocean. Moon-watching eels swallow the essence of the moon to gather poison. Moon spirit fruits are often found in their nests, which are not only non-toxic but also detoxifying, so they're often used to make the best detoxifying pills. If taken directly, the effect will be greatly reduced, but it can also increase the body's resistance to poison. Xia Xiaochan asked curiously, Are there any treasures? Zhang Xuanyu looked at the fish skin notebook solemnly. I don't know. I only know that the moon-watching eels are aggressive and territorial, but they don't seem to pose any threat to us. Han Fei said, Let's learn more about the moon spirit fruit. It can resist Little White's paralyzing venom. Xia Xiaochan's eyes glittered. Then let's fish. It doesn't feel good to be poisoned. Xia Xiaochan recalled the poisoning incident in the Blue Sea Arena. At that time, her face turned purple and ugly. Luo Xiaobai frowned. Moon spirit fruit? Where did you hear that? Han Fei shrugged. You don't know anything about it. You can find it in the Encyclopedia of Spiritual Plants. Lu Renkuang immediately exclaimed, "I've read that book. It's too much information for me to read." "You've read it all?" Gloating, Han Fei thought to himself, "You'll be scared to death if I tell you. I've memorized it in a day." Zhang Xuanyu, however, said uninterestedly, "It doesn't sound special. Fruits that can increase poison immunity can be bought." Xia Shaochan glared at him. "Is it free?" Luo Xiaobai nodded. "Let's try fishing." Everyone began to cast hooks. After 7 days, except for Han Fei and Xia Shaochan, only Zhang Xuanyu had touched the threshold. Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renkuang were still indifferent. In a fresh and refined way, it was a blind bait. Han Fei was the only one who could see where the fish hook passed without any obstruction. As he retracted his rod, he caught an abalone the size of a washbasin. Xia Shaochan and Luo Xiaobai stepped back in disgust. Lu Renkuang asked, "Huh? Is this an ear fish? How rare." However, it was said that it did not have much combat power and was only relatively rare. Because it's too ugly, it's said that even fish don't eat it. Xia Shaochan said in disdain, "It's so ugly. I thought you caught a moon-watching eel. What do you know? This thing is very precious. I've never seen it before. I didn't expect to see it here. Let's start with meat today. I'll make an abalone feast for you." Zhang Xuanyu was puzzled. "What banquet?" "The abalone banquet is delicious and unparalleled." Lu Renkuang immediately leaned close. "Better than barbecue?" Han Fei smiled mysteriously. "That depends on my cooking skills." Lu Renkuang rubbed his hands happily. "I believe you. Ha ha ha, I haven't eaten an ear fish yet. I'm going to try it today." Xia Shaochan said in disgust, "I don't want it. It's ugly." Luo Xiaobai said, "Me, forget it." Zhang Xuanyu scoffed. "You're just a bunch of people who don't take your training seriously. Look at me, I guarantee that you'll be able to perceive spiritual vision in 10 days. Half an hour later. The fishing boat was fragrant and the pieces of abalone were steaming in the pot. Han Fei and Lu Renkuang sat in front of the big pot and smacked their lip. Han Fei asked, "Are you really not going to eat it?" Xia Shaochan, Zhang Xuanyu, and Luo Xiaobai all swallowed. "Can such an ugly thing be so fragrant?" Xia Shaochan even wiped her saliva. Lu Renkuang didn't mind at all. "I'll eat it, I'll eat it." The fat man picked up a piece of abalone and stuffed it into his mouth. The fat on his face trembled with the hot abalone that had just been taken out of the pot. That look of enjoyment on his face, if one didn't know better, they would think that he was floating. "Delicious," Lu Renkuang shouted, his eyes glowing and his mouth oily. The others were all drooling. Zhang Xuanyu withdrew his fishing rod and said solemnly, "I don't think we're in a hurry to fish. Let me try it too." Xia Shaochan sat in front of the pot. "What's ugly? If it's cooked, you can't tell what it is at all. Anyway, I'll just eat it." Luo Xiaobai struggled for a while. "Since everyone has eaten it, let's eat it." "What to eat? Wasn't it all about eating, then?" Xia Shaochan smiled. "It's delicious. Han Fei, let's eat it again tonight." Zhang Xuanyu agreed. "Those people only care about XIU. I despise people who don't know how to live." Lu Renkuang said anxiously, "Hey, don't take it. It's mine, it's mine." Luo Xiaobai's eyes flickered and she looked at Han Fei in a daze. Where did this guy learn his culinary skills? What kind of food could become so delicious in his hands? After a hearty meal, they continued to wander in this area of the coral reef. Their purpose was not to catch the moon-watching eels but to practice fishing skills. At least, the fishing skills attached to Han Fei's void fishing art were far better than others. Lian Gong. Fa fishing skills. The only pity was that each time he cast the hook, he could only cast it down a kilometer at most. Han Fei was quite surprised that Xia Shaochan could perceive the spiritual vision for the first time. Fa was definitely not ordinary. However, did the Heavenly Water Town have such a technique? Han Fei didn't think so. If there was, it would definitely not be unknown. Besides, he had never seen two spiritual beasts in his life. Then, Xia Xiaochan's origin was worth considering. And Zhang Xuanyu, it was said that he came from another town. His FA was obviously not the most ordinary true spirit fishing art. Then this was also a fated chance. Besides, he could leave his body with his spirit, which Han Fei couldn't do anyway. As for Luo Xiaobai, she had always been mysterious. As for Lu Renquang, although he was a foodie, his crazy heritage explained everything. Now it seemed that none of his teammates seemed to be ordinary. The point was that he happened to meet them. Was it a coincidence or luck? The seventh day. It was evening, the sun was half setting, and the sky was covered in rosy clouds. On the fishing boat, the 5 people were fishing very seriously. Suddenly, Zhang Xuanyu shouted in a low voice, "I see it." As Zhang Xuanyu's hand shook, he picked up a singing conch. Everyone looked at the source of the sound, only to see Zhang Xuanyu grinning from ear to ear. "I see it. I knew I would succeed in 10 days. Xia Xiaochan was curious. "How far can you see?" "Less than half a foot." Xia Xiaochan let out a sigh of relief. "Keep working hard. I can already see half a meter." Zhang Xuanyu, Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renquang. Lu Renquang was anxious and ran to Han Fei. "Can you teach me? Why can't I see? I've been working very hard." Han Fei stretched out his hand and pinched Lu Renquang's belly. The latter quickly took a step back. "Why did you pinch me?" Han Fei said. "I pinched you and you felt pain. This is called a nerve reflex. In other words, it's called spiritual perception. If you don't have spiritual power, you may not even feel this pain. Just treat the fishhook as your own flesh and try it." Lu Renquang was stunned. Treat the fishing line and the fish hook as flesh? Han Fei started to talk nonsense. He didn't know if he was right or not, but he felt that it was quite right. Touch comes from the heart. Wherever the heart thinks, there will be a response. Han Fei put on an unfathomable look and pretended to be a pretentious guy. However, as soon as he said that, Xia Xiaochan said in his mind, "So, you actually don't know what's going on, do you?" Han Fei replied, "This kind of thing can only be understood, not explained. What if a few words of advice are useful?" Lu Renquang scratched his head and went back to think. Luo Xiaobai was also deep in thought. At night, there were 3 moons in the sky. Since he learned the water vein technique, Han Fei no longer had to worry about other fish disturbing him. Suddenly, Han Fei's eyes lit up. The moon-watching eel? Chapter 197. This was an unexpected surprise. The group had been fishing in the coral reefs for 7 to 8 days, but they hadn't seen a single moon-gazing eel. In the end, they ran into each other. It was a gigantic eel. Its head was more than a meter long, and its body was thicker than Lu Renquang's thigh. As it breathed in and out, the water rippled. In the next moment, a water ripple entered the moon-gazing eel's mouth. "Rise! Xiaobai, help tie him up." Everyone saw Han Fei suddenly roar. Before he realized what was going on, a big fish nearly 6 or 7 meters long was swung to the surface of the sea. Zhang Xuanyu exclaimed, "Moon-gazing eel?" Suddenly, dozens of vines darted out of the water and wrapped around the moon-watching eel. But in the next moment, all the vines began to change color and wither. Luo Xiaobai wasn't afraid. She broke free and swept up the vines again. At the same time, a paralyzing poison seeped out of the vines. For a moment, the moon-watching eel became a huge source of poison. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, "Cut off its head! Let's not eat the meat. There's a full moon pearl in its head, which can help with Xiu. The pearls used to cultivate eye techniques are priceless." Han Fei was not interested in the bead. What he was interested in was the spiritual fruit. Poison was terrifying, but it had little to do with your physical strength. Xia Xiaochan was paralyzed by Su Yebai's poison. However, Han Fei still obeyed Zhang Xuanyu's words and threw out 2 daggers, one at the head of the moon-watching eel, and the other at the top of its head. In the blink of an eye, the moon-watching eel was killed, and a huang fell to the ground. Se's bead was caught by the vine and sent back. Plop! The moon-gazing eel's corpse fell into the sea. Han Fei said, "I'm going down to pick the moon's spirit fruits." As soon as Han Fei jumped into the sea, dozens of knives appeared around him and minced the strip fish and yellow-boned fish around him in the blink of an eye. Han Fei's purpose was clear, which was to dig out the moon-watching eel's hole. This kind of marine creature that didn't live in groups wouldn't have anything else in the cave. "Blackie, bring the fruit out for me." A few minutes later, Han Fei broke out of the water, holding a fist-sized yellow in his hand. "Say fruit?" Xia Xiaochan asked. "Just one?" Han Fei was amused. "Maybe there's only one moon-watching eel." Han Fei waved the knife in his hand and the fruit was divided into 5 portions. "Let's share it." It wasn't anything particularly good. However, if I were to encounter a poison expert, I might be able to resist a little. Everyone was very straightforward. He took it and stuffed it into his mouth. Luo Xiaobai handed the moon-watching pearl to Han Fei. But this kind of person. Techniques were useless to Han Fei. He asked casually, "Who wants a xiu?" Was he here to cultivate ocular techniques? "I don't need it." Lu Renquang asked, "Huh? Don't all spirit gatherers need xiu? Cultivating ocular techniques? I've already mastered it, and I don't fight with my eyes. This thing is useless to me." Everyone shook their heads. There was no one here. He was practicing ocular technique. Luo Xiaobai said, "You can sell it in the Linglong Tower or exchange it for something you need. Keep it." Things that were not considered treasures to the crowd were not like that outside. For those who needed it, especially those who needed xiu. For someone who cultivated eye techniques, this lunar gazing pearl was priceless. For Han Fei, this was just a small interlude. While fishing, he also looked for fantasy creatures. There were already 3 big shots in the demon purification pot, and he wanted to find 1 or 2 more. Would he be able to fuse a spiritual beast stronger than the 9-tailed mantis shrimp? Another half a month passed in a flash. When Han Fei encountered a fantasy creature, he asked the others to catch it together. But this time, that thing actually knew how to dig a hole, and it managed to slip away. However, in the past half a month, they had basically fished all the creatures in the level 2 fishery. They caught a lot of rare creatures and fed them all to Little Black and the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. During this period, they also met a lot of people in the level 2 fishery, some of whom knew Han Fei and the others, and some intended to rob them. But seeing that there were 5 people on a fishing boat, most people gave up the idea. A team of 3 people, seeing that Han Fei and the others were still young, clamored to rob them. However, before Han Fei could do anything, the others all said they wanted to try their contractual spiritual beasts. Almost in the blink of an eye, the 3 of them collapsed and their contractual spiritual beasts were all killed. If Luo Xiaobai hadn't said that they were just refining weapons and not killing people, the 3 of them would have become fish dung. On this day, it had been nearly a month since Han Fei and the others arrived in the level 2 fishery. Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renquang still hadn't comprehended spiritual vision, which at least proved that not everyone was talented in this ability. Zhang Xuanyu did it because of his strong spiritual power, which was related to the bloodthirsty shark he awakened. Zhang Xuanyu nodded. "Well, I have a general understanding of the level 2 fishery in the Blue Sea town. This month, a total of 38 dangerous places have been circled. Among them, there were 21 that everyone knew about and had explored. The remaining 17 places are slightly more dangerous. Do you want to go?" Lu Renquang nodded. "Yes, I don't want to fish anymore. I can't catch anything without bait. Up to now, my spiritual power can only shake the hook a few times, let alone spiritual vision." Han Fei nodded. "I have no objection. But Zhang Xuanyu, can you narrow down the range a little more? How long do we have to run for 17 places?" Zhang Xuanyu smiled. "I knew you would say that. I divided 13 of these 17 places into relatively less dangerous places. People have tried to explore the other 4 places, but they all died. Xia Xiaochan asked, where? Zhang Xuanyu stared at the fish skin notebook and said, the piercing electricity zone, with a large number of piercing electricity jellyfish. The stone forest is said to be inhabited by stone spirit crabs that live in the stones, and the stone spirit crabs will store spiritual energy in their nest. Therefore, the stones there are very suitable for forging weapons. Some people have risked mining there, but few have survived. Zhang Xuanyu continued while flipping through the fish skin notebook. The other 2 are more famous. One is the deep-sea jungle, which is covered with countless vegetation. Many times, they are entangled by the vegetation on the seabed before they can dive deep. It is said that a dangling fisher once went in and didn't come out. The other is even more dangerous, called the Fiery Mountain. According to the records, even great fishing masters will die if they go there. So far, no great fishing master has come back alive from there. Han Fei was shocked. The Fiery Mountain? Luo Xiaobai said, it's a gathering place of fiery corals. It's said to be a kind of weird coral. Han Fei took a long breath in relief when he heard that it was a kind of coral. He thought that he had arrived at the Bull Demon King's hometown. Xia Xiaochan asked, so, which of these 4 places is the least dangerous? Zhang Xuanyu closed the fish skin notebook. The piercing electricity zone. This place has the highest chance of coming back alive. Lu Renquang said, don't compare us with ordinary great fishing masters. Do you think we can do it? If we can't, let's not go to these 4 places. Let's go to the other 13 places. Zhang Xuanyu said, I think the piercing electricity zone is worth a try. Han Fei thought it was worth a try. Then let's go to the piercing electricity zone. Only dangerous places have treasures. The other places have been explored by others. We can only pick up the leftovers. If we want to go, let's go where others dare not go. Xia Xiaochan chuckled. Han Fei, you've forgotten the pain now that you've recovered, haven't you? Lu Renquang rolled his eyes quickly. Why don't we go to the other 13 places? Zhang Xuanyu snorted. The other places are boring. Indeed, some people have already explored them. Although there may still be some spiritual fruits, for us now, the effect of an ordinary spiritual fruit is not as good as before. Luo Xiaobai shook her head slightly. Spiritual fruits are still very important. With spiritual fruits, the success rate can be increased by at least 20%. Han Fei had an idea. Let's vote by a show of hands. Those who think we can explore the piercing electricity zone, raise your hand. Swish. 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 Except for Luo Xiaobai and Lu Renquang, the other 3 raised their hands. Han Fei said with a smile, 3-2. The path of cultivation is against the law of nature. The level 2 fishery can't even withstand the wind and waves. When we reach the level 3 fishery, we won't dare to go anywhere, right? With that, Han Fei and Zhang Xuanyu raised their hands and even clapped, as if they appreciated each other. Lu Renquang rolled his eyes. Wait, have you forgotten what happened in the Fire Cloud Cave? Xia Xiaochan said proudly. Ordinary fishermen are not afraid of death. We go to sea every day. What are we afraid of? Let's go. Zhang Xuanyu shouted, Let's go. Han Fei shouted, Let's go. Chapter 198. The piercing electricity jellyfish was not a rare jellyfish in the level 2 fishery, but because the jellyfish community was too large, there were always a few mutant, rare, and even exotic jellyfish. In ancient times, there were even legendary piercing electricity jellyfish. In the ocean, jellyfish were like umbrellas and mushrooms, especially the piercing electricity jellyfish. This kind of jellyfish could generate electricity. However, some people said that the piercing electricity jellyfish were cute and playful. When Han Fei arrived at the piercing electricity zone, he could always see a few dead piercing electricity jellyfish floating on the surface of the sea. Even though they were dead, their blue hats were still very beautiful. Lu Renquang swallowed. Should we go straight down? Zhang Xuanyu shook his head. Don't rush. This is just the edge area. Let's go down to the central area. Lu Renkuang was lost for words. I'm told that the jellyfish groups are huge, with thousands or even more. Zhang Xuanyu said casually. What are you afraid of? Your 1,000-blade tortoise can crush them in minutes. Xiaobai's vines can also easily protect us. Xia Xiaochan can also flash. It's me and Han Fei who have to worry about melee combat, okay? Han Fei clicked his tongue and said, Don't worry about me. I can control water. Zhang Xuanyu. Everybody discussed and went straight into the water. As soon as they entered the water, they felt that something was wrong. In other places, they could basically see fish as long as they entered the water. However, there were very few fish here. After diving more than 10 meters, they saw a bone-piercing fish swimming past them unhurriedly. Also, it didn't mean to attack them. The 5 of them stared at the fish like fools, watching it come and leave. Luo Xiaobai said, Be careful, everybody. It's not a dangerous place. Slow down. Everybody nodded. After diving for about 50 meters, they saw a piercing electricity jellyfish with a blue hat and white stripes floating slowly in the water. There were only a few of them 10 meters up and down, so nobody was scared. Everybody deliberately surrounded it. After all, they had never been to the level 2 fishery and had never seen a piercing electricity jellyfish in the ocean. A string of data flashed in Han Fei's eyes. Piercing electricity jellyfish 25 common 250 points long-term consumption can increase one's resistance to electricity. None. Han Fei remained calm, and Zhang Xuanyu leaned 2 meters away to take a closer look. In the end, the piercing electricity jellyfish seemed to notice something coming and automatically floated over. The small umbrella opened and closed, dragging a long tail behind it. It was very beautiful. Under everyone's gaze, the piercing electricity jellyfish slowly turned around, showing no intention to attack. It even wanted to rub its head against Zhang Xuanyu. It's so cute. Can I touch it? Luo Xiaobai said. Don't. Before Luo Xiaobai finished, when Xia Xiaochan's hand touched the piercing electricity jellyfish, an electric current hit Xia Xiaochan with a crack, making her tremble all over with an explosive sound. Xia Xiaochan quickly stepped back. As a result, the piercing electricity jellyfish rubbed its cute head against where Xia Xiaochan had just been. Finding that he missed her, electric currents flashed in his small eyes, and he chased after Xia Xiaochan. Xia Xiaochan was shocked. Go away, you electrifying monster. Everybody saw that Xia Xiaochan was hiding, and the piercing electricity jellyfish chased her unhurriedly. Now and then, electric currents emanated from its body, as if it were playing circles with Xia Xiaochan. Han Fei was deep in thought. Jellyfish had eyes, or rather, they were not real eyes. They were primitive visual organs called dot eyes. Similar to the compound eyes of insects, they did not have a focal point, but they could sense the changes of light and shadow. However, the piercing electricity jellyfish before him was different from the jellyfish that Han Fei saw in the level 1 fishery. This piercing electricity jellyfish had evolved to have eyes, and it had evolved to have 4 eyes. Han Fei said telepathically, Be careful. The piercing electricity jellyfish have eyes. They can find us with their sight. Xiaochan, kill it. Xia Xiaochan was stunned for a moment. I don't think so. Although it can electrocute people, it's so cute. Han Fei said, Then why don't you try thousands of piercing electricity jellyfish? Xia Xiaochan shivered. 1 jellyfish was enough for her. Thousands of them? Were they going to electrocute her? Xia Xiaochan's dagger flashed, and the piercing electricity jellyfish was cut into pieces and slowly sank. Lu Renkuang was confused. Huh? They don't seem to attack people actively. Luo Xiaobai said telepathically, No, they're active. However, the piercing electricity jellyfish are too slow, so it looks like it's playing a game with Xia Xiaochan. Xia Xiaochan was stunned. Is that so? I thought that it was just playing a game with me. Everybody continued diving. When they were almost 80 meters deep, They saw a lot of piercing electricity jellyfish. There were hundreds of them at first glance. The deeper they went, the more piercing electricity jellyfish there were. Very soon, everybody's vision was blocked, because the jellyfish's tails were too long. Regular jellyfish could even reach 20 to 30 meters long, and regular piercing electricity jellyfish had tails that were 20 to 30 meters long too. Their tails were floating in the water, seriously blocking everybody's vision. When they tried to pass through the swarm of piercing electricity jellyfish, they immediately realized that something was wrong. Luo Xiaobai's face changed greatly. "Get away from them! All the jellyfish are approaching us." Zhang Xuanyu made up his mind. "Dive down. If we go back, our trip will be in vain." Although the jellyfish were approaching, everybody dived quickly, but the deeper they went, the more shocked they were. There were too many piercing electricity jellyfish, so many that they were practically packed together. Everybody saw that the tails of the jellyfish were almost entangled. An idea occurred to everybody. What if those jellyfish discharged electricity at the same time? Crackle, almost at the same time as everyone's thoughts, the entire body of water exploded in an instant. Electric currents were surging within 100 meters, and Luo Xiaobai only had time to cover everybody with vines. But how could the vines resist the electric currents in the water? In that instant, everyone began to tremble. They were all electrocuted, their bodies trembling. Woo! 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 Zhang Xuanyu rolled his eyes after being electrocuted. Xiao xiao xiao. Quang quang quang. Like Zhang Xuanyu, Lu Renquang released the 1,000-blade tortoise while he was electrocuted. 1,000 smoke blades slash shua. 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 Thousands of sabers slashed the piercing electricity jellyfish into pieces. However, the whole water was full of electric current. Even though the piercing electricity jellyfish were dead, the electric currents didn't disappear immediately. Everybody trembled for a long time, and Zhang Xuanyu finally coughed and vomited blood, followed by Luo Xiaobai. Lu Renquang was even more exaggerated. His mouth was foaming and his eyes were rolling. Only Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were fine. Han Fei seemed to be used to being electrocuted. He had been electrocuted by the dragon eel before. The electric currents of such a large group of piercing electricity jellyfish were not even as powerful as one electric shock from the dragon eel. As for Xia Shaochan, she was struck by lightning together with Han Fei on the top of the mountain. Although Han Fei ate most of the lightning, it was very conductive. The fact that Xia Shaochan could withstand it suggested that her physique was extraordinary. At this moment, everybody finally understood why the great fishing masters couldn't make it back alive. Most people would have already fainted from the shock. Lu Renquang, the fatty, was already foaming at the mouth and rolling his eyes. While shivering, Han Fei performed the divine healing technique. Probably because he was trembling, he couldn't perform the divine healing technique, which made everybody look at him with hidden bitterness. Han Fei said telepathically, "Don't blame me. It's not easy to control the spiritual energy." Outside, the 1,000-blade tortoise was a bit dizzy from the electric shock too. The 1,000-blade slash's momentum was greatly reduced at this moment. It was barely able to hold on for a minute before everyone slowly recovered. Han Fei immediately cast the divine healing technique on them and said telepathically, "Run! What are you waiting for? Fatty, put away your 1,000-blade tortoise and use your own armor, or the 1,000-blade tortoise will be electrocuted." Lu Renquang suggested, "Why don't we go back?" Everybody raised their head and looked up, only to be gloomy. Go back? The piercing electricity jellyfish were everywhere, and their long tentacles were almost touching their faces. Xia Shaochan shouted, "Run!